Hello everyone and welcome to the Guild Wars 2 podcast. The LightBringers, with me your host, Jebro. This is episode 10. Welcome very much to this place of awesomeness. I bet they thought I wouldn't do it, but I did, because it's my damn show. Okay, and over to Jebro, who is also me.
Hello. I told you. Oh, no, I didn't tell you. I actually said I wasn't going to do it. And then I did. I faked you out. Faked everyone out. No, I'm going to have... That's going to be the legitimate beginning. I don't need to keep looking over there because you're on my screen now. Hi. Everyone, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the podcast, which is on Anthem? That's not right. Anchor.fm. Anthem. Don't, good lord, no. It won't, no. That would have failed really quick. That was bad. Which is on anchor.fm/Jebro. And basically, oh, they're muted. Oh, no. Oh, my bad. Okay, sorry. They're okay now. They're on. Someone speak?
We've just been pantomiming. It was actually an illusion. None of us were saying anything. We were just...
Thank you for saying that, chat. I can hear them, but it didn't come through on the actual thing. So maybe I should do that introduction again.
Maybe you should, because we had some pretty hilarious banter going on there.
We were just cracking jokes left and right.
Yeah, it was some of the funniest stuff I've ever heard on the internet.
You guys really missed it.
Damn
So
it.
sad that I have short-term memory loss. I forgot all of it.
Well, next time we'll do it. Welcome to episode 10. It is the episode 10. That's a mini anniversary. It's got a 1 and a 0. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you for joining us again. All
vodka.
previous guests as well. That's some water there. Good, love it. Yes.
Moonshine.
Moonshine. It does look like moonshine.
Orange juice.
There is nothing in that glass, by the way.
There was a tiny bit of orange juice. You could kind of see it.
I believe you.
That
I believe you.
microscopic remnant.
We'll believe you. It's okay. Streaming it. Everyone believes you. So today we're going to be talking about Guild Wars 2 expansion, End of Dragons, and what we want it to have, what we would like it to have, what we think it might have, and having a look maybe at the past expansion very, very briefly in the features that it had as well. So this is like main features, I guess, as well. Guess today I'm going to go over here on the right hand side if you're watching this. Bird of Chess, aka Rook, aka hello.
Wow, I didn't even get through my full formal title. Mother of Birds.
Tell me.
Birdisi. No, I'm kidding.
Birdisi. Oh, okay.
You did great.
Thank you. How are you doing? Tell me what's going on with you. Where do you do the things? And
Yeah.
hi. As well.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hi. Hello. Yes, I'm Bird of Chess, aka Rook. You can find me over at twitch.tv, Bird of Chess. Bird of Chess on YouTube now as well, which has been really exciting. Just been getting into that in the past few months, which has been fun. And we do a lot of different content. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Discord, you can find me everywhere, pretty much Bird of Chess, but I'm mostly focused on variety MMO broadcasting, Final Fantasy 14 and Guild Wars 2 are my big ones, as well as awareness, diversity, and promoting, welcoming safe spaces for both the LGBTQIA plus community and also mental health and discussing things like that as well. So I am someone who's always excited to meet other people, talk to other people, hear about your experiences, and bring everybody in to connect over the games that they love.
There we go. Well said. Awesome. Please go and check out Bird of Chess. If you're watching or listening on Anchor as well, you can go into the description and find links and stuff as well where you can go and check people out. Then we also have, and Bird of Chess is pretty much here every time. I would say is by now probably a co-host by now, to be in all honesty.
She carries it. She carries it.
Literally
My
carries
evil
me.
plan.
Carries
This
it
is
on
true.
her wings.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. The link is there. That was so romantic, Kroof. And now Kroof is after that amazing comment. Thank you very much for being here. How are you doing today? What's going on? Tell me what do you do? Where do you do it?
I'm doing wonderful. I mostly do YouTube, but I also stream on Twitch Sundays and Saturdays and Mondays, actually. I changed my schedule.
Oh,
But,
okay.
you know, I'm like the Plantar Ward of Guild Wars 2. I'm small, textured, and never go away. And unlike Rook, no space is safe when I enter it. So thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, good lord.
My favorite intro I've ever heard on any podcast. That was brilliant.
There's a lot of hand movements as well. So you probably have to go and watch that at some point. Watch the VOD. youtube.com/JembraUni. All the hand movement podcast ways of the future.
I'm not Italian, but I talk a lot with my hands.
Amazing. Boots, welcome. Last minute guest. Literally about 40 minutes ago. Thank you very much for being here, my friend. How are you doing today?
My
Tell us what you do and where you do it.
I'm Boots. You could find me at World of Enders on YouTube or on Twitter as well. Not on Twitch because I don't know why. Mostly because I feel like I need someone to talk to make things interesting. And
You do collab with a lot of
speaking of
people.
which, I do. Speaking of which, actually, I also have recently been on the Host of Ascalon podcast. It's a competitor podcast to this one, and they're really good. You should check them
A
out.
competitor podcast, and you should go and watch it. Wow. Hey, we
Very
welcome,
good, very
we
good
welcome Flash
podcast.
Wings.
Host of Ascalon.
No,
yeah.
they've been going on for a long time. I actually listened to
Yeah.
that episode, I think last night, maybe, actually, with you on it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'll listen to it. It's all
Good.
good. It's
It's all
fine.
good. We're all friends here. We're all friends here. Yeah.
Exactly. Mela, thank you very much for the raid. Awesome streamer. Thank you very much, my friend. We're actually talking right now about
Welcome,
the Guild
people.
Wars 2 game and the next expansion that we hope will have the things we would like to see on it. First of all, what we're going to do is, and thank you to our guests for joining us today. Thank you for everyone watching live, listening live as well. What we're going to do quickly, first of all, is we're actually going to go through, I'm going to go through first what the features were from Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. I'm thinking, oh, you know what? Damn, what can they do next? What will they be doing this stuff? Will they bring it in? Does it matter? Great Wares 2, the fashion show? Yep. Exactly. Could there be, that could be a thing. We're literally talking about, I'm not going to say what I said before because I'm trying to keep it clean. There's literally a button. There's literally a button on the podcast where you release it where it says explicit or clean. I'm trying to keep it clean. And I'm like,
Sure, Dan.
oh,
Sure,
and you're
Dan.
Can you
not
like
just- yeah.
flick it back and forth? Can you flick it to explicit? Just say
Well,
one
now
thing
it's
and then flick it
definitely
back.
explicit.
Everything is PG-13.
No.
Go 13, get your parents' guidance.
Hey, Kroof is here.
PG.
It's on explicit now.
We'll keep it clean.
So base Heart of Thorns features. So Heart of Thorns was the first expansion. Released Guild Wars 2012. Release of Heart of Thorns was October 23rd, 2015. That was 6 years ago. Almost. It's 5.5 years at the moment. And basically, so they came out with a jungle region with 4 open world maps. There was a new living world story. Obviously, personal story, sorry. New races / civilizations across all maps. New armor sets, which is just kind of a given. Big thing, mastery system was introduced in Heart of Thorns. That's when it first came in. Horizontal progression rather than, more levels. More, not like 80 to 90, etc. Not your typical MMO Guild Wars series. Legendary weapon collections leading to new legendaries. Ooh, which was lovely. A new profession, the Revenant. New elite specializations, which we've come to expect now. New PvP reward tracks. Actually, PvP leagues came in December of 2015. Was touted as a feature of Heart of Thorns. It was one of those things tacked on to say, come play Guild Wars 2 kind of thing, even though you could still play leagues without Heart of Thorns, but it's still listed as a feature, funnily enough. As was Stronghold, the PvP map. This is a lot of stuff. This was actually released on the day of release of Heart of Thorns as well. And the World v World Desert Borderlands, which did disappear, but are now back as one on kind of one of the home maps, I guess. Guild halls. Ooh. Guild teams for SPVP, where they had a leaderboard. I don't know if people remember this. Doesn't exist
What?
anymore. They had guild teams. Yeah, I mean, you can enter as guild teams for guild missions. Like, you have to have a guild PvP team to do that. But they don't have this anymore. This is in the old. This was back then. This was 5 or 6 years ago. And for a bit, they had it as Pro League qualification, as far as I remember, or as WTS qualification. No, it was Pro League 2016. 15, 16. No, 16 it was. So yeah, it was. I don't think they used it the whole time, but it was used to get into the qualification process for Pro League, which was cool. But it didn't work for a time because people just made loads of different teams, and the same players were on the same different teams, like the top 5. So it was a bit awful, but it was good. A good idea. Raids.
Okay.
10-person content. Kroof is sad that I missed that. Yep, indeed. Fractals changes, additions of items and stuff like that. Other stuff was adventures, legendary equipment, back piece. I think that was for PvP and maybe Fractals, I can't remember. There were 3 new weapons. There was the commander tag, which you had in not only just raids, but in World v World, PvE, wherever you want. And the action camera mode as well. They actually brought in the little, what is it called?
Action camera mode was a little bit later, right? Like they released it not at the same.
I think it was actually before.
I
think it released before Heart of Thorns.
That's listed as one of the features on the wiki. Yeah.
Oh. I think it was a part of it and a part of live streams, but I think they implemented it like a month beforehand or something.
Yeah. But again,
as a sort of like pre-release, patch thing that they were doing as they were kind of leading it.
As a feature, you don't need to have like Heart of Thorns. They mix a lot of stuff into the feature list where you didn't have to have Heart of Thorns to do the thing. I don't know if the Catmander turn came at the same time, because that's only when Commander tags came in Nolan.
Catmander must have been Path of Fire? No, never mind. I forget now.
But yeah, I mean, and that was quite a lot of stuff, and I just wanted to do this in comparison as well at the beginning. So base Path of Fire features, this was released 2 years later. So just under 2 years later. This was 22nd of September 2017. They touted these as being the biggest maps they've produced. This was it's 5 large maps, sorry. And then with Living World Story 4, obviously you got access to 6 more. And that was the same with Heart of Thorns. There were 6 more maps for Living Story. Personal storyline. Mounts, obviously, was a massive thing. And then you got more Season 4 mounts with Roller Beetle, Sky Scale. And then you got additional abilities added onto mounts as we went further into the seasons. New elite specializations, 1 new guild hall, new adventures, which is just, something they're doing. New weapon and armor sets, bounties. That was it.
Small. Were there no new? This is just actually a question I'm curious about. There was a new raid released later, but was there not like a new raid at release with Path of Fire?
No.
Came later.
Wow, that's surprising to me.
Yeah, you only need Heart of Thorns to access. Yeah, no, it didn't come with Heart of Thorns right on the dot. I think they wanted it to, but they were waiting for people to get through a bit, and then they launched it November? Maybe?
It wasn't too long after. I think it was like a month or 2 later. I forgot the time difference in Path of Fire.
But it was a
in
feature,
comparison, Heart of Thorns, as the young people would say, was chonky.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Path of Fire was small.
Yeah, I mean that's a good start. That's a good start for this. So Kroof, go on, continue. Like, what do you think? Like in terms of listening to that list and me spieling off about Heart of Thorns features and then Path of Fire. Like, what's your initial thoughts with that?
I mean, overall, it makes sense considering from a business side. I guess from Heart of Thorns was like a $60 expansion, so they had to kind of advertise many features. Path of Fire was only $30.
Was it the base? Was it base $60?
I'm pretty sure it was base $60.
I can't.
And then they dropped the
find
price in Path of Fire.
I don't know if it was $60. I'd have to find out.
I could be wrong. So my theory was completely wrong.
Are you sure? I don't know if it's 60. In saying that though, you could be right about the fact that, you know, there was a price difference. I don't know if it was $60 though. I need to go and check. I actually had a really weird video, but continue, sorry.
Regardless of the price, if that is true, that would make sense from a marketing standpoint. You know, you gotta kind of bulk it up. But from just from an expansion side, it does feel like just from listing everything, it seems like they put more effort into Heart of Thorns than Path of Fire from a superficial perspective. People often think of like more and more features being like more time and energy, but I think while Path of Fire didn't have a whole lot, it was still a very, you know, good and quality expansion, while perhaps not being the most, you know, exciting, because I feel like a lot of people look for that superficial, like, what new things? There's not many new things in comparison to the old one, but I really enjoyed Path of Fire, even without a bunch of new things.
I think some of that too is just kind of the nature of a first expansion as well, you know, because especially in a game like this where they do kind of evolve and change the formula as we move forward, like coming off of the base game, you get a ton of feedback from the community, from people, what they want, what they don't want, how they feel like the game is. So when you're pushing for that first expansion, you tend to go above and beyond because that will kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. And it's also a place for you to be able to implement a lot of the feedback that you sort of received, right? So the scale of it tends to be bigger. And it also introduced a lot of stuff that they could then build off of. So the mastery system in and of itself is a huge foundation, right? And then these different other kinds of content that came out, they've obviously, I think, had more success or less success with various ones and balancing their releases and things. But a lot of that got put into place with Heart of Thorns so that they could build off of it in the future. And it's interesting because with Path of Fire, there's definitely some areas where, I mean, I think I would have liked to have seen, yes, maybe a little bit more of a build off of that momentum, especially like we were talking about with the raid release and stuff. Like that would be nice to see them have really kind of paced that in a similar way. But the story itself, to me, feels like the place where they went much more robust than Heart of Thorns, because Heart of Thorns' story is pretty concise, and a lot of what you do outside of that is just the maps themselves, right? Whereas Path of Fire, I feel like maybe didn't have as much stuff there in the metas I wasn't as in love with, but like the story itself, I think really pushed to a new tier for the game in a way that has really kind of built momentum since then, which has been really exciting to see.
Okay.
I agree.
Is that your edition?
Yeah, that's my edition. No, I would say that what Rook just said is very, very much similar to what I want to say. It's Heart of Thorns. Well, first of all, a lot of those features that you mentioned there were, a lot of them were kind of changes that they were making to the base game before the expansion even came out. And in order to prepare ahead for an expansion model for the game. Yeah. So masteries, as well as the way the elite specs worked, all of that was sort of things that were laying the foundation for releasing new expansions after even Heart of Thorns. So it seemed like they threw a lot of things into Heart of Thorns, just tried to see what stuck. They were very ambitious with Heart of Thorns. Not a lot of it stuck. Like we said, as you're discussing the things that were released, like the Stronghold didn't take off, PvP leagues didn't take off. Quite a few other things I can't remember right now, but so that's why I think in Desert Borderland. Well, there is a thing with Desert Borderland, but
that now,
just that.
Yeah. But so in Path of Fire, they took the things that worked and ran with it. It seems that's why it seems like the feature list is smaller, but I feel like it's more refined in that way.
I didn't say run. I'd say jog.
Fine, that's fair. That's fair.
I do think that they could, as Rook said, especially from a PvE player perspective, I would have liked a more consistent cadence and reinforcement for raids and even fractals. though we did get them and they were good. Especially, I also think it's the current time period that we're in and the kind of like the drought for raids and fractals and not a lot going on in there. That might be influencing my beliefs about the release, but a little bit more consistency would be nice with expansions.
That's it. That there's also the question of whether or not from Heart of Thorns they threw a bunch of things on the table and some of them didn't stay on the table because they didn't take off, or is it they let them fall off the table is another question due to budget constraints or time constraints and stuff like that, which maybe people want back in the game.
Yeah, this is true. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another question. Obviously, there've been issues there's been stuff going on over the last couple of years. We got COVID for the last, now we're in a year. Happy anniversary, everyone. And obviously, the layoffs, the other stuff, projects where they put people onto, they didn't come through in the end. And us even thinking,
so many projects.
The game, so many projects. And then the game, maybe even us worrying about where it would be in the end as well. And I was watching a ton of videos last night because I've actually started to take nights off again. Nights off of streaming for the first time since I probably got to America. And I was watching some stuff like Wood and Potatoes research and just being like, oh crap, like even he thought the game was going to pretty much just die last year before this expansion announcement. Like there was him, there was loads of people just like, this is the end, everyone. Let's make the most of it. That was the feeling. I didn't say that, but that was the feeling I got. And then and literally, it's a year since they put that image out onto their website of the image of when they're talking about their mini roadmap. They had like Super Adventure Box. They had the start of or the first or second episode of Ice Brood Saga. And there was something else. And then there was the picture at the end where we're like, oh, Camphor. And they were like, we're working on a Guild Wars 2 expansion. This is the distant future. This was a year ago. Mm-hmm. I remember that day very well. That was a year ago, man. I'm like, really?
I was walking down my college hallway going to my English class.
Oh,
so fun.
Oh, wow. I think I was live or I was about to go live and somebody said like, oh, there's a new expansion that got announced. And I was like, ha ha ha. And then they went, there's a new expansion. And I went, where? What?
Yeah, exactly.
We were so excited. And I mean, even just that teaser, you're right. I think it did set a tone that people were looking forward to. And I mean, whether or not people really thought that like, yes, like this was going to be the decline for Guild Wars 2. Like there's a lot of discussion about that, right? And it does seem like there was a lot of stuff they were trying to deal with in the company, and we don't know that being players and people on the outside, right? We don't know exactly what went into all of this. But even around that time, a lot of the discussion about maybe switching to something like more of a living season format as opposed to having formal expansions, all of that kind of stuff, I mean, is a pretty direct reflection of what's even just happening in MMOs right now. I mean, Elder Scrolls Online doesn't necessarily release Expacs. They do this like multi-part season. We're starting to see more companies play with like the format of release. So there seems to be this, kind of like big question mark. And Kroof, I agree with you in that I think sometimes what has caused like the biggest, I think, apprehension in the community is just like not knowing what's coming when and what's happening. And like, because everybody's always trying to like, well, when can we expect this next thing? Or, is this even still on the table? And with MMOs, stuff gets scrapped, like formats get changed. Things do change over time as just the games themselves do. But it was really exciting to see this new Expac news and to go like, oh my gosh, now we actually have an idea of the next major sort of marker and landmark and like what's happening moving forward.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the important thing. And that's why they needed to, right? And I think they had that feeling themselves that last year hadn't been good.
Now the question is, was it a decision that was made before starting Ice Brood Saga, or was it made during Ice Brood Saga?
I don't think so.
I think this was made during. I think this was very late. I think this was very late.
It's funny. Last time I think one of the last times we were together,
discussed
Boots, I
this
feel like we
before.
talked about this too. Yeah. And I was the only one that was like, no, I think they knew going into Icebird Saga. And that's why they did that special event, because they knew they were going to be ramping up towards this and they were trying to get the community reinvigorated again. Even though everybody was like, what, it's just for Icebird Saga? Like,
Yeah.
that was
I think there might have been contingencies involved. I think there was probably a plan that an expansion is something that they could do and will do, given certain elements working very well or not working exactly as well as they'd hoped it would work.
I almost wish we could get an answer on this right now at this point in time, because I've been kind of
Let
like,
me hit up Tom Abernathy.
yeah, like they would have like potentially, because this is the thing, like there was strong rumors coming from ArenaNet about there not being another expansion. There were strong rumors, like many of us heard about, and it was like we're moving to this thing, you know. Even after I talked to people, and I talked to people because I have a way of getting information out of people, and not that like, I'm going to break NDA, but like, but the way they were talking about it, it was more like it was just the way they were talking about it, and I was like, oh, and Mike was there as well, and then Mike went over to Amazon, not too long after Icebird Saga and the announcement, because that's when he was, you know, director. And then things changed again, and it was like, and then this was post, because this was 2018 Icebird Saga. No, wait, when was Icebird Saga announcement? 2019. Yeah, and oh god, 18, Jesus. And the reason, another reason why I didn't think it was planned was because they always do an announcement and they do it at a show. And they did the massive Heart of Thorns thing, which obviously I was part of, which was sick.
It was so fun.
So good. And then they did it in 2000. They did it for Path of Fire at PAX West. I remember Colin being on the stage and everyone else. And I was like, oh, I know there's COVID as well. So maybe they would have done something at PAX South. Maybe. But then I'm not sure, and they would have done something at PAX West with Icebird Saga. So, I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter because there's an expansion. It's just fun to talk about it, like you say. But so it's like,
well, you know, the reason why it's fun to talk about is because it'll give us an idea of how much
time they spent on it.
Exactly, how much time they spent on it, how much planning is into this already, and how much we can expect from the expansion.
And if it's going to come this year.
Yeah. How long were they working on Heart of Thorns? How long were they working on Path of Fire? Do we know?
Half ones was a while.
Yeah, I imagine these take probably like two plus years to make.
Yeah,
that seems solid to me.
Yeah, it really depends. I think Path of Fire would have been less time because I think Heart of Thorns was a lot of
I feel like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I could tell you exactly how long through like all fan theories or whatever they were probably took working on Path of Fire. Heart of Thorns, I'm not so sure because they might have had stuff in like reserved for it before even the game got launched originally. But Path of Fire probably not a lot of it anyway. But now I just can't remember anything. I just have no.
I mean, if you think about all of the systems and all the new stuff and the horizontal progression and mastery system, which is a lot to put in, and then gliding and the verticality of the maps, like Heartthorn's design was completely different.
And a new class.
And a new class, yeah. And just the new PvP map and all the different teams doing so much work, which is obviously what they do all the time. Like Heartthorns was a new everything. You know, there was new kinds of cutscenes and ways of telling story through the way things were animated and just loads of stuff. Like even new systems, like so many new systems were made. And then you look at Path of Fire and you think, okay, well, this could have even been broken up into living story. In all honesty, just releasing each map and having a elite specializations pack on the store, they probably could have done it like that, and it would have ended up exactly the same as where it is now. Like offered a pack like get access to the next blah 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 season of Living Story and here's your mount, here's your elite specs and all this kind of stuff. Easily could have been a way they did it, just releasing maps slowly over time and raids and everything else. But you know, they released this expansion where you can pay Did I say $30? And it was more, Kroof. You're right. It was actually $50. As far as I could find it.
It wasn't exact.
But no, it was more.
close.
Yeah, it was more money.
So the first one was $50, right? And
That's kind of what I found. I don't know if it went down, but it wouldn't have gone down by much.
And if I remember correctly, big contention back in the day was that when you buy Heart of Thorns, you had the base game rolled in.
Yeah.
And all the veterans were going, hey, now, we paid $60 for the base game. What's going on here? Eventually, everybody calmed down.
Didn't we get an outfit, though? We got an outfit.
We got a free character slot, I think. Or, yeah.
Was it character slot?
Character slot and like
a outfit.
One of those shared slots for your inventory slots, I think.
That's so weird, because so many games do that. Like, it's so funny that people got upset about that, to me at least, because I mean, like, almost any game or MMO or anything does that at some point, you know, whether they make the base game like a free trial. I mean, even in 14 now, the whole base game and the first expansion are just free. You can just play them. Like, and yet Guild Wars 2 is one of the only games where I have ever retroactively seen them put something in that's like a nod to players that purchased at full price. No other MMO I play has done that. Like,
I think they did that after the fact, though, after the outcry, actually. But then they did exactly what they think they were going to do for Path of Fire, which was make the expansion less expensive, or you could buy Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire together for a little bit more.
That was 50. Yeah. So you could save like $5 on. Oh no, you saved more than that because Heart of Thorns was still 30, or was it 20? I can't remember. But
so it cut off those complainers off at the pass, saying, "Hey, look, Heart of Thorns is still worth something." And now, probably, what do you think? Okay, so for the price for the new expansion, what's going to be rolled in, and what are the prices going to be?
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's what was kind of where it's going to go. That's exactly it. Like, it's a good transition. Good transition.
I think everything we're talking about is kind of to keep in mind, because if this expansion was started later, I would feel safe to assume that there's not going to be many new features, which is sad to say. But when you look at it from Path of Fire, we kind of said, well, when we say Heart of Thorns, we like to guesstimate that it was probably 2 years, maybe a little bit more. Path of Fire, we probably are in agreement that it was shorter than Heart of Thorns development because it was smaller in scope, more focused on certain things that worked. Yeah. And then I think with End of Dragons, because Icebrood Saga kind of got chopped like halfway through production probably, and nothing's confirmed, but in my mind, it seems like they quickly directed to the expansion. And then considering it's only probably going to be like 1 year where things are really solid, 1 or 2 years where it's really solid.
2 probably.
I can't see getting more features than Heart of Thorns. I probably see it being more in line with something like Path of Fire. I would like to be proven wrong.
Now keep in mind,
many new features.
Keep in mind that a lot of the development time, it feels like anyway, for Heart of Thorns had to be put towards changing all of their systems for the masteries and the new specs and all that to all work in Heart of Thorns. And moving forward, they don't have to do any of that changes anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, but I can't see them changing the existing things. They're only going to be adding to it. And I feel like 2 expansions in a row where nothing new is added and just added onto it, it might feel a little bit weird. The one thing in particular would be a new race. That would be a new feature that we haven't seen before, which I would really like. But considering the time frame, I don't know how logical that could be. I don't know how long they've been working on this, though. I would still love it, and I think that they need it.
It'd have to be very humanoid, probably, if it was going to be anything, unfortunately.
I mean, maybe. We know there's oh my gosh, there's so many things. I mean,
there's so much to talk about.
There's so much stuff to talk about, right? Like,
this is why we got a podcast, everyone. This is good. Go ham on the talking things.
So the idea of like a lot of stuff being sort of introduced even in small stages with Heart of Thorns as far as like new features and things go, right? Like how we were discussing that even in patches leading up to it, we were seeing various things be tried and sort of added in, right? I think we've seen that with the Icebrood Saga. Now, does that mean for sure that we're going to get some whole new, again, like as we get into the next expansion, we'll get these, I always think of them as trials from Final Fantasy 14, but the strike missions, like where it is a single boss of note that is in like various areas that has some sort of challenge or extra mode that's a bit more like economical for them to do versus, a huge raid wing and like all these landscapes and environments and all sorts of stuff that they have to do with ads and all, I think it's really likely because it's smart for them from a decision standpoint and also is a type of content that they could easily grow and continue to like expand upon, right? So I see that kind of stuff. I don't know if the dragon response missions are going to have much duration outside of this. They're the ones that I'm most on the fence about, but I mean, having some kind of instanced, repeatable, story relevant kind of thing, I don't think we've seen that a lot in Guild Wars 2, but adding in these other components, I think, is something they're trying to expand upon. So I almost see them doing with the Icebird Saga what they did leading into Heart of Thorns, this gradual sort of implementation and sort of experimentation with these new possible types of things that we might then see come to more fruition and be something that would be kind of, more future forward for them with a lot of stuff. With all of that said, I really hope we do see new raid wings. I really hope we do see like good considerable additions to the systems that are already in the game, like fractals, like, because I think that that's again something that you have a system for and you have a community for. And just do it. Just like put the new stuff in. People expect it for an expansion. Just do it.
We
like
need Shia LaBeouf to come on screen now.
It would be good. It would be great. And to completely like to kind of touch back on Path of Fire, because Kroof, you said so much and I was like, every single one, I was like, oh, I've got all these bullet points I want to talk about now. You inspired me. Like Path of Fire introduced one major thing that I think is significant, which is mounts. And not just mounts, but like the way that they exist, the way that they have their own kind of leveling system, the way that they can interact with environments and open up possibilities for environments, the complex large scale system around them that I think is new and it is fairly unique within MMOs. I think Arcade comes the closest, but not many other games have something that affects the actual possibility of gameplay in regards to mounts as much as what they did with Path of Fire. So coming into this next one, I do hope we see some major feature like that. I've heard people talk about boats, boat battles, instance player housing. There's all sorts of stuff that could be a possibility. I do agree, though, that I think new race would be something that coming right out of the gates would be a really strong new feature. And with them having even in the past done some planning for Tengu or something like that, I don't think it's completely out of the possibility, but also it's never actually been something we've seen in the game introduced. So but I mean, I think they've got a lot to work with, which
Boats
is the sort of main summary.
I mean, boats, I'd be good. I mean, Arcade, that was one thing in Arcade that was actually, because I was in on that release, because Triumph published it when it came over, and I remember playing that, and I think one of my highest viewed videos is how to build a house in Arcade. Just like got 35,000 views or something stupid. And I was like, how to build a house, and I'm really excited about building this bloody house because it's in the world that you are with other people. And it's like, and people rush for this stuff. It was like real estate. You rush off, you grab this land, and most of the time, most players are completely screwed because they're not going to get anything because there's so many people. And it wasn't instant at all. And like, it was actually really awesome. And you could build a boat, you could build a boat and you could sail to these different maps and you could, encounter other players and you could kill each other out in the seas and with different kinds of ships. And it would take legitimately a lot of resources to build these things. And you could build them as a guild, you could build them yourself. And it was really awesome. Like, it was such a good sandbox game, but unfortunately, they messed it up with pay to win stuff, which was unfortunate. But I mean, I think they maybe wanted to make some money, maybe, I don't know, but it was not the right way to do it, and they messed it up. But the features were good, like you say. I think now this is the thing. We're gonna sort of, we're transitioning into this eventually after about 40 minutes of the podcast having started. Part of that is my fault. But what we want from the next expansion, and I think talking about the past expansions, what is maybe possible that ArenaNet can do, as well as maybe our desires for stuff that even if, you know, it's not possible, and we know it's not possible, maybe what we would like to see in the world of Tyria and the world of just Guild Wars 2 as a game and something we enjoy. And I think, you know, that's important to think, because, you know, you got to have aspirations and dreams, right? And there's
What are those?
Well, I don't
I'm
know.
not familiar.
And maybe systems that we've enjoyed in the past that they could bring back, or could, you know, that have maybe potentially had some work done to them. And Rook just said, you know, something very, very interesting, and something that is very popular in games like Elder Scrolls Online and Final Fantasy 14, and tons of MMOs just talked about arcade housing, player housing. A very, very, you know, what we may think is a simple system is obviously not, and is something that is in Guild Wars 2, but it's a guild. It's more like the decoration system is in the guild hall, not really in the player instance housing, which is where you just kind of have these things which you can just gather from. There's just gathering nodes really in there, and that's what the kind of, even just picking up, you know, the birthday present from under the tree, it's gathering. That's what it is. It's just a gathering place where you can just gather loads of extra bits and bobs, and that's cool.
But you don't really gather as a group of people there.
No. I mean, can you even go in someone else's player instance? I don't even know. I don't think I've ever actually tried.
Oh, that's what tons of people do.
I know you
to get all
can.
the stuff.
Yeah, of course you can.
That's
So
when you
can
bum
go in
off your
there.
friends because you didn't unlock any of them. Not that
Right.
I've done this,
Yeah, that's
obviously.
it.
And then you go in
That's
there
it.
and you get them all.
I completely forgot. So you can go in there, but there's just nothing to do other than get people shit. Like, and hopefully, I mean, does anyone want this? I mean, chat can say, did anyone want it? I mean, Rook wants it. Rook wants
Very
to
bad
have it.
want it. Very
Player
much so.
housing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
think about it. Everybody has their own apartment in Canning City. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I love that idea. I've heard.
I think I'm the dissenter.
You don't want Canning City? You want to get somewhere out in the
Oh, no,
countryside?
no.
you just want a
Yeah,
different.
I don't want
wanna be
the
in the suburbs.
expansion. You know what? Let's just scrap Cantha. I don't want it. But we're just saying the game. I'm like, get rid of Cantha.
Oh,
No. I mean,
new episode
never
name.
been-
Scrap Camphor. I don't want it.
I've never been one to love player housing, but I think it's a purely personal thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not really into The Sims, not really like into super Minecrafty stuff. I like being out in the wilderness in video games and all that stuff. So it wouldn't be the top of my list, but I understand that it does attract a lot of people. And I think overall for marketing for a game, I want the game to succeed. And it seems like a lot of people want it. So by all means, go for it. But if I was in charge, it would probably be a couple bullet points down on the list for priorities. I
Yeah.
think the top of my list is probably a race, just to invigorate existing players and new players all at once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
if we're just getting a list of all the things we would ever want in the inspection, yeah, I'm down for that too.
Yeah.
So what?
oh yeah.
So what were you going to say before we go on, Rick? Sorry about the player housing. Before
Oh
we go on
yeah,
to maybe a race
no. I just think
conversation.
that housing is. I mean, it just seems to me. It seems like they already have so much they can just use for it. You know, I mean, we have furnishing items, we have scribing, we have guild hall decorating. Like literally, at this point, they have all the structures that could make this feasible for players. I think most of it, with my limited knowledge about things pertaining to programming video games, probably comes down to like
Probably a
certain-
couple lines of code, right?
like a few. You type like 3 words, you're done.
I
and
mean, if I
housing.
draw this thing on a piece of paper, put it against the screen, it's in there, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's what
and
happens.
then it just gets absorbed into the computer, and then I have a player house. No, I mean, I think server load is a big thing with that, with the housing items, slots, amount of people, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's a big issue, as well as, you know, realizing the actual places themselves and how you do that, and creating the maps, the landscapes, what kind of building tools you have, whatever it is that they would want to do, right?
Yeah.
But as it stands, I think, you know, if they just made a house or an apartment in Kaineng, like you said, but just made it so that you could have it by yourself and decorate it, that would be something that even in and of itself would be great. Because yeah, there's people who aren't going to care about housing, and Kroof, that's totally fair. But it also, like you said, has so many different levels to it. Like, people can use it as a social space. They can use it as a role-playing space, which then keeps them in the game longer as they create their own content and get immersed in the world. I mean, we've even seen in other MMOs like setting houses that have tags specifically for RP. You can use it for stream events. You do a birthday background, you put a cake or something, you've got people there. You can use it as I've even seen there's an entire Final Fantasy 14 content creator that does HG14, which is like housing decorating trips, ticks. Oh my gosh, I can't even speak anymore. Tricks.
Same.
They do tricks in the houses?
Like that's a whole different other podcast. But like tricks, tips, decorating ideas, all that kind of stuff, right? So the potential for that alone to create visibility for the game and, you know, far-ranging stuff, even though I can't speak English good, there's many good stuff it do for game that would be very nice. Would like put couch and house. Thank you.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
I don't know what we're talking about anymore. I think I might need to go
make
rewrite
everything
the
disappear.
podcast.
Oh man, do you think they'd let you move in together in an apartment in Canning? Like have two people?
Oh, wait, you could get married, and they could utilize the Lion's Arch, and when you get married to it, and you could contract, and then you.
Okay.
Oh my
The
god.
whole storyline.
Okay, Kroof, you nailed it. I didn't even think about this, but yes, I want in-game marriage because there's that one place, like you said, that's there for weddings.
Yeah.
But you can't actually get married. Like other games, you get married to somebody, maybe you get a teleportation ring, or you get like
But you get
I don't know,
bonus. You get
a little
bonus.
bonus to
You get-
experience.
if
or
you're
you get,
wearing a ring in ESO, you get married at the beginning of the game, or you get married whenever. You get an experience boost from the ring.
And you could get like items on sale because like tax deductions and stuff.
Yeah.
Real
And
world.
also Rift had it as well. When you get married, there was an instance in Rift where you would get. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna find it. I got married
I love
to
Rift.
like my
Rest in
friend.
peace.
Me and my friend got married. I think her husband actually got jealous. We were playing. This is when I was younger. And like we got married, and there was a whole like thing, like this actual ceremony. It's outside in the sanctum, which is where the good guy faction was, good guys, whatever. And there was this thing outside. There was all the pews lined up. There was very much like, you know, Christian kind of style wedding. And there was speeches and everything, and like, you know, we made speeches. We did the whole thing, man. It was pretty fun.
Wow. I could understand why your real girlfriend got annoyed with that.
No, her husband.
Oh, okay,
not my girlfriend. I don't think I had a girlfriend then. Actually, I probably did, but I don't know. I probably didn't tell her. Honey, I'm getting married.
we need to transition this podcast into Jebro's history of dating life.
Please, that's not. It's way too long-winded.
I think this marriage idea is great, moving in together in the player housing.
There is
I
literally
think
wedding attire in the game.
I think what we would
There is.
do is they would
Wedding
need to
outfits.
make the characters learn how to go through the process of getting married, go to the NPC, like the registrar or whatever, and get an officiant by going through a storyline of Marjorie and Marjorie and Casimir going through all that stuff first, trying to get married.
And it could
Now
be a
you're-
mastery line, mastery of
Now you're-
love, and then
Mastery of love.
We could watch them get married. It'd be the best thing ever. I love them so much. I just love Cassandra. I want them to be happy forever. So anything that furthers that goal, I feel very good about being a new feature in this game.
There we go.
There we go.
down.
Yeah.
I think we're making great leaps and bounds in the development team for Guild Wars 2 and ArenaNet right now. So we're doing great work, guys.
I think we can just stop now. I think this is the only feature we need in the next expansion.
I am literally. I'm because I have to show this. But this is
Do you
this is
have
the
to,
wedding. This is the wedding in Rift. I'm gonna show it. I'm gonna show
your
it.
way?
Yeah, I'm gonna show it on stream.
Are we
Wait,
gonna dox anyone?
Did you
here?
record it?
No, someone's
We're
recorded
taking
it.
a quick.
This is a
We're
very
taking a
quick
quick
trailer.
journey. Was
sound-
this it?
Well, that's someone just like just proposing, getting down on one
Oh.
knee. That's kind of what a lot of people do, Kroof. But you know.
Welcome to Western marriage traditions. Don't worry, we'll educate you. We'll teach you.
The first bit of the trip, but that's it. There you go. That is outside. I mean, that actually is that Hammer now? Actually, might be Hammer now, which was a raid. That's interesting. Oh no, yeah, there's Sanctum. There you go. There was these proper like, you know, ceremonies and people like actually attended them and stuff. There's different areas. That's it. That's a raid. That's a raid.
This is amazing. I love this. Yeah, like in 14, there's cutscenes. Like you can pick and choose and customize various parts of the ceremony. So like the flower colors, and you can pick like which officiant you want, and then your friends can get invitations and come join. And it's just a nice extra social feature in the game. Plus, I think it helps encourage people to make friends and like pair off and do stuff. Like the amount of people that I know that have just met through like random essentially forum listings that are like, look for wife. Please, please, someone be my wife. I beg of you in this video game.
This is something like this is something that was really good that Tron did, and I have to actually give them a little bit of credit. It was like same sex marriage as well. Like they had these models in the game, and they promoted it through like, you know, this was something that was quite early as well. So I'm just gonna give Tron a little bit of credit for that as well. To be fair,
that's true.
Even though
they think about that.
did kind of like go pay to win and shit, but like, other than that, they actually were good advocates for like, you know, for a lot of communities, which was cool.
Yeah,
but,
and Guild Wars 2 as a game is so good with that as well. I mean, we have such diversity represented in the game that putting something like this in, I think would fit with the community and the overall envisioning for the game and the world. So.
I know some people are probably going to be listening to this or watching this and then be like, Jebros, what used to be so about like competitive PvP in this game, and now he's suddenly talking about wanting to get married in the game. I'm like, dude, I play everything in Guild Wars 2, man.
Jeb, okay. What if there was a new type of PvP tournament where you and others faced off, and then the last two standing became the champions and were married to one another and got a special bonus?
I mean, there you go. And legendaries, probably.
And legendary, some kind of lover.
I would want to marry someone really rich, though. That's what I would
or something.
That'd be a gold digger.
Like Cello Frag rich. Like
gold digger.
So much money.
Farron rich.
That's the gold digger title.
Sometimes you want to be a fantasy gold digger, and I mean that's a dream that anybody should be able to live. You know, like for Jet,
I already sit in Lion's Arch asking him map chat for 20 gold. I'm just kidding, I don't do that.
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
So I'm going to believe you now. Segue, guys. Are you ready for the segue?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so ready.
It's more effective as a segue by me announcing that it's going to be a segue. So ready?
Do I have to hold on to something?
Should I drum roll?
No, that's just gonna, audio problem. No, forget it.
Let me see if I've got sound effect for this.
People get married. They bring their guild mates from either their own guilds, two guilds together as the wedding party, right? And that forms the very first alliance. And we should have alliance in World versus World. Alliances.
Oh shit! I was gonna leave. I was gonna leave. Boots wants to talk about alliances. Oh no! We go from such happy memories to something which is just steep sadness.
I think we all need to take a moment.
Coming. Wow, you are.
We need
really
to take a moment to
positive,
reflect. How Boots, you have like 5,000 5-head IQ energy. That was so good.
Well tied together. It was very good. I mean, it's a compelling narrative, and it introduces a feature everybody's been waiting for ages, for a million years.
And it would be very good if it was the only way to form alliances. If you had to have one member in different guilds.
Right. Let's start with this conversation properly. Right. But houses, something we would think player housing would be something that could be fun, a new feature that we would want maybe for Guild Wars 2. But something that has been promised in the past, and I'm trying to find out where the post was. Is that a picture?
They deleted it.
Nah, they definitely did.
No,
They shouldn't hopefully have done that.
Could you imagine?
I mean, it was 2018. If anyone can find the post for it, that would be
they
cool.
They couldn't realize it before now. Technology was not far enough. Now you're gonna make an alliance by smooching each other cross guilds.
Oh, we're talking right. Okay.
Yeah.
They wanted to make sure it felt believable, real, romantic. You had a variety of options to bring your people together and unite in some kind of Disney-esque narrative about reconciliation. They couldn't do that in the past, Jeb, so they had to delay it. And now they're ready.
I guess.
And they can.
If anyone does know the actual Alliance announcement date, I found articles February the 2nd, 2000. Oh, you found the article. Awesome. That's even better. We can stick that up on the stream. But so if you don't know what we're talking about and you listen for the first time, you're like, oh, good lord, what's an alliance? What the hell are you talking about? Are you talking about PvE? No, we're talking about world versus world. Where basically that's one of the posts. Oh yeah, no, that is the post. I'm pretty sure. I thought it was a blog post though. Oh no, like on the page. Maybe it wasn't. But what happened was a while ago. This is a post January 31st, even earlier. Edited February 1st. No, it was only a couple of days later. Next day, sorry. Wow, words, math, everything. Where they wanted to have allying in world versus world, and you would have guilds that would be able to ally with each other, or well, essentially guilds, across servers and everything else, where you would ally with these people and you would be fighting together season to season. As far as I remember, I'd have to read back through it. This was a feature, just an extra thing that was going to be in Guild Wars 2. It wasn't going to be part of anything specific. It was just going to be something which they filtered into Guild Wars 2 as we kind of moved on. That was 3 years ago. And ever since, we have not heard a peep, not a word about it ever since. There might have been some mini posts in the World v World forums talking about it and getting feedback, but there hasn't been anything about that. I don't think this is coming with the expansion. I just don't. I do not think this is coming.
To.
I think it is.
I mean, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. It's the only way to bring World vs. World.
Wait, when you say you agree, what do you agree with? You can't just
I
say.
agree with everything.
No, not you. You said the thing. What did Kroof agree with?
I mean, I'm a diplomat, so I agree with both of you.
No,
but
you're not allowed to agree with both of us.
I think I'm more so in the Boots camp, considering if also time frames. This was in 2018. It's now 2021, and I agree. It has to come with this expansion. Yeah. If it does not, well, and when I say it has to come, it doesn't mean that it has to arrive on release day. They could advertise it and be like coming in a month or two, as long as they announce it and have it as a showcase within the trailer. It reinforces that world versus world crowd, and I think they have to. Yeah. It's been so long that like if they don't do anything,
to get my wife back into the game,
it's done.
I mean, yeah, it just makes sense. And like, if there is a time for them to have the labor, energy, and like stuff and pull it together, an expansion release is probably that, in my thought. And if we don't see it with this expansion release, then yes, I think there's a very big likelihood that it being in the future does seem questionable. But overall, I have a siren going by. One sec.
Oh, we can't hear it.
Wee woo, wee woo.
You'll hear it in a second. There it is.
All right, that.
There, yep.
Chicago.
I share your pain. I share your pain.
Kroof understands. Yeah, like I think that now is the logical time for it. It makes sense as well because there has been a lot of discussion about world versus world, and Kroof, like you were saying, players wanting to have information about what the future of that game mode is. So to me, I think that they have to have something for them in this new expansion, and that would make sense to me.
I think it's gonna be Guild versus Guild, actually.
But to be fair, I do understand why it's taking so long to implement, because when it was first announced and described...
Really? Why? Go on. I want to know. Really though? I mean, it's been 3 years,
when it was first announced and described,
it's been 3 years.
A lot of people found out like a lot of idiosyncrasies with the way it seemed like it was being planned that are going to be very hard to make sure it works balance-wise. And
it's
so
not easy.
Balance-wise, but also just to the point of alliances is to try to make the feeling people got back when it was world versus world, actual world versus world, which was server versus server without any of this linking or anything, when that actually kind of meant something.
It was the community feeling of like being a server working together toward a goal, which was great in the year 1.5 that it existed for. It was the best world v world that there was in the game. It was was when it was at its pinnacle best, and then I left after that. I was just like, it was server pride. That was the thing. that disappeared.
and the World vs. World seasons were incredible. Like I had so much fun during the World vs. World seasons. It was really fantastic, and we need those to come back for World vs. World to take off again. But the issue is, how do you get the server pride back? And their answer is to form alliances with your guilds, make it guild wars again by having guilds form alliances. And now the problem with that is you have to balance the fact that a lot of people don't necessarily have guilds that could compete this kind of way, and will either have to find a guild that would accept them to play with them or form an alliance with them somehow. I know they had ways that they were saying that they just shove other people together, but then a balance issue again. Like they have enough trouble balancing server linking that I don't know if it's going to be very simple.
I think they have alliances, and then they have this image where it's like the alliance. There's different alliances, and then like in creating a world, and then there's like separate individual guilds that don't want to be a part of that, and then you have like three other guild alliances and everything else, and then individual players that make all this stuff up.
Yeah.
So, it's
maybe
like,
they could do something where like there's some kind of like you have the alliances themselves, because initially I was thinking, oh well, it would be you could limit it to 2 alliances, and like you can only have these groups that are able to merge, and there's like a certain limit. But then you're right, if you have different sizes of guilds, that can cause problems. So I mean, maybe if they based it more off of like the overall players within either, and you could form various alliances until you reach certain caps or thresholds. I don't know, it's definitely a big question, but at the same time I think that as we see more and more games, and Guild Wars 2 has done this, right, where you're moving away from this idea of individual servers somehow being this like isolated world that you're almost on and that you're like pitted against everybody, right? It's one of those things where we have mega servers, so it doesn't really matter, like you can go where you want, and World versus World is one of the few places where there is a hang up with that. So doing something that does focus more on guilds makes sense to me, because this is going to be my transition into something that I want as well. I think we need more guild-based content in the game. And like, it makes sense that we might get a new guild hall, right? But will we get new guild missions? Will there be something new for guilds to do? It's a big question mark. So having the alliances be based somehow around guilds already, I think, moves some of the focus to the guild system.
It's a fantastic idea, and I hope it works, and I hope it comes and then works. But I think the biggest issue with it in my mind is that for it to work, so many people have to buy into the system. And I don't know.
Guild missions or guild alliances?
Alliances.
Everything.
Alliances. Yeah. And at least with like you're being shoved into a server world, automatically when you go into World vs. World, you're just there with people you might not know or you do know. That you don't have to buy into, you just do it. But with alliances, you have to buy into it as a player, otherwise it's not going to work.
Okay.
True.
Well, that's the thing. So like alliances, I think there's mixed. Well, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I think it will come at some point. I don't think it will come during the expansion, but majority, I think, Boots and Kroof,
it will become after the expansion?
I think it will come afterwards.
Okay.
Like a season afterwards, or like
in the expansion
what's
after.
your time frame?
The expansion after this expansion.
when the first pair get married and discover that forms an alliance, that's when it comes. Yeah.
I don't think it's on there. I don't think it's on the radar, in all honesty. I really don't. I don't think so. Well, otherwise I would have
They
talked
still
about
have a
it.
World versus World team, right?
No. They have a systems team.
Oh yeah, the systems team.
The systems team is a thing.
Was
So
that
systems
diffused
team
into
is
the-
PvP World v World balance.
Okay.
And something else. A league spec? I
Raids?
can't remember. But yeah, the
Responsible
systems
for
team.
raids.
Yeah, well, they just put everyone into this team called the systems team, and now they all work on different things. So like, it was like
They said communism.
they all came together because
Our
of
team.
for communism. I mean, I don't know. Seems unlikely, but let's go with it, Kroof. Changing the episode name now. Again, actually for the 5th time. So I'm gonna move it along now. And yeah, things happen. So guild missions. And chat, if there's anything you think that might be cool to bring into Guild Wars 2 from other games, or you think the Guild Wars 2 might do based on what you know, we've been talking about what you're playing in the game. Talk about it in chat, bring it up. We'll talk about it as well. But like guild missions. So when was the last time? I don't even remember when guild missions was put into the game. It was a long time ago, but they just put a batch in, and then I think they kind of forgot about them, and that was it. That was done, dusted. We actually started doing them again fairly recently, but then we've kind of filtered. They've kind of gone away a bit again because they're not massively engaging, I would say. I would say just like I was trying to be nice. But they're okay. They're good. But the problem is there's not many of them. So you know when you're using the old content like to make stuff, like you know we're going to race around as flipping chickens and stuff. Like that's cool. We did the one on Southside Cove.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. And were you there, Kroof? I think you were, weren't right? Was it?
Yeah, I joined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like we were running around. That was quite cool because we were just like, you know, having a laugh. Like this is really difficult, but you're not going to do it next week because it's just like, you know, that was fun revisiting kind of thing. If there's loads of those and you redo them, like you know, there's 10 of them or so. There's so many bloody maps in Guild Wars 2. This could be done. Instead, they made like you know roller beetle maps and stuff, racing and stuff. So that's cool. Why don't we just do a roller beetle race for guild missions? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, put some of this stuff that you've got in the game and let us do it. I don't know.
They could
Add strike missions.
Yeah, have some sort of
Guild
special
strike missions.
where you could
There's
like
a-
go in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there's a lot. I also saw people discussing some of the like inspiration from factions with Cantha and things like that. That like maybe they could do something where their like guild missions are now tied if they have factions back. Even we don't know, right? But you could get various reputation or things from like different factions or do things sort of tied to them, which I thought would be really fun to kind of build off of that guild element again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's good possibilities. It's just nice to have something that I think is like a social component of the game that is just a fun other variety content that you can do with people, that you can go in and you can get specific rewards, or you can, build up kind of camaraderie or just spend moments doing something together that doesn't always have to be, high-end stuff or things like that, but something that you can just get people together and do stuff with. So I would love to see them kind of build off of that and add some more features like everybody else, because it does seem kind of weird that the guild features, they just haven't seemed to decide if they want to commit or not, which is fair because like you said, Boots, it comes down to whether or not a community agrees to engage with it. And if they don't, that's dead content, And it's one of those things where you do have to have almost a precedent in the game that fosters that kind of guild style gameplay. And if you don't completely lean into it and make it something that people are actively pursuing and getting involved in, then it's like, why spend the development time on this?
To be rewarded. This is the problem with Guild Wars 2 as well as specifically. And I think it's just the way it is. It's games, isn't it? Rewards is the big thing. Like, unless you get a big reward for this thing that's going to be making you like powerful in the game, people often won't do it. And like there is like people do want to engage with their communities in different ways, but like you have to have variety of stuff, right? You have to have a lot of different things, like doing the same shit over and over again. Just like, I know we do it obviously in MMORPGs, but like we've got a variety of different stuff we can repeat rather than just like, here we go. Like, and the thing is, there is a lot of fun stuff. Like there is cool guild missions, like, there's the Char mission. I can't remember which map you go to, where you just defend this area, and it's just a tower defense. It could be more difficult. It could be levels of challenge where the more you get, the more gold you get. You can do this thing once a week. You can get 50 gold maybe with the rest of your guild, and you can get some ascended equipment stuff, or maybe just even once a week. And even if it just scaled in difficulty and went to ridiculous levels, I don't know, where we would challenge. I think it would be good. To think about these kinds of things, not necessarily where it's just like this boss that you have to defeat. Use your event system in the game, where some of these events are just guild missions, like the Clockwork Knight thing, guild mission, small version, kill this thing.
Oh yes.
I don't know.
A couple of questions. Rook, when you were talking about the factions, were you thinking that we could do like Lux and Kurzik, etc.? Do you think we could do something like or they could. You need
Boots works for
You
a
need
reason.
your-
Announced on the LightBringers
now.
podcast, episode 10. Happy anniversary.
We're gonna program the entirety of the next expansion. Everybody, please look forward. Look
Yay.
forward to
Please
it.
support us.
Something like
GoFundMe.
you need your guild to align with one of the factions, and you do things for that faction,
Yes,
and then
that's
you would
how
need
I-
multiple guilds to maybe
That's
do
cool.
different things.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think something like that would be cool. I mean, even if it wasn't restrictive, you could maybe, farm up reputation for a faction and then maybe go do another one. I don't know. But I actually do like, now that you bring it up, the idea of, having the guild kind of commit to one, because you can be in multiple guilds. And that is an awesome thing about Guild Wars 2. So if there were specific rewards tied to them, I think it would incentivize people even more to then kind of go. And with rewards, it is tough because I think there's different metrics people will deem to be worthwhile, right? Like gold is always a motivating factor. Jeb, you mentioned like end game gear and things like that, or powerful stuff that makes you powerful in the game. But I mean, cosmetics, even if there were
Yeah,
unique mount
cosmetics would be better.
skins like tied to some of these, I think
Mounts, gliders,
that would be kind of
boats.
neat.
Bugs.
There's all sorts of stuff that they could do. And even just like you said, adding more variety would be a nice thing to kind of, encourage people to do it, because sometimes the incentive in and of itself is just that, like, we don't want people to lose touch in the guild, so let's just do something. But you're right, if it gets too repetitive, people just kind of tune out and they don't really, but I think it could.
What if you ally your guild with one of the factions, and now we have 3 factions, Luxian, Kurzik, and the Empire, let's say, and somehow that ties into World versus World alliances.
Interesting.
Could
It'd
do.
be interesting.
Canthan themed World versus World map.
Well, is that going to be something? I mean, it could be. You never know. I mean, maybe they
Yeah.
bring in
I
like.
mean, I don't know if this is going to be a World versus World focused expansion, but alliances
No.
and then guild systems. I think those are 2 facets of Guild Wars 2 that seem so integral into the name Guild Wars.
Yeah.
It seems like very obvious things to do, getting a lot of people together. It just seems like it's been struggling to make that happen.
What, World v World, or just the game?
Both. Well, not the game, but World versus World and guilds.
Yeah.
Like the 2 systems of the 2.
The funny thing about World v World, and what I was just thinking is that they've actually seen a resurgence of players in World v World, apparently, when there's queues, and they haven't handed any content. So there might actually be a thing where they're just like, you know what, the population there is okay, people are in queues, and why we know that people want stuff, but people keep going in. Like, what? Like, do we need to? Like, at this point, it's just like,
The trick is to not release story for a little while, so the people who do story are looking for new things to do, and they go into World versus World.
Well, but it's also important that they released a mount that is in World versus World. Like, I think a lot of people who weren't necessarily motivated to play World versus World, that was a smart move, because they were motivated to go get that tiger, though. So they went in and kind of got a taste of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious to hear what everybody thinks, like, with the types of content that we have right now. Is there something specific that you would really like to see the expansion deliver on those? As we talk about World versus World, this makes me think about, like, well, what do people want from the next step of World versus World, right? Just a new map? Huh?
A Doliac mount in World versus World rather than a tiger mount.
Doliac map would be
I've
good.
seen a lot of people say Siege Turtle for like multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about new maps. I don't think new maps. I think that after the desert and borderland map introduction fiasco, and then because the map was amazing. I remember when they launched that, when they first talked about it. It was in London, actually. When I was living there, it was in the London docks, and it was for the. I don't think it was PAX. I can't remember which event it was, but they did this big presentation on stage. It's such an awesome place. They'd have loads of indie devs there in these small little glass offices, and you go around. It's a really small event, and then there's just this big hall, and there was the devs there. I think Tirza was there, who was good friends with as well, and she was thinking about World v World, and there were some other people as well. I can't remember what the other guy's name is. But they announced this big, all the desert borderlands and all this kind of stuff, and the maps are so good. It was just unfortunate it didn't really work with what people wanted. It could have been its own PvE map, in all honesty. they could have done something with it there. But like, people just didn't like it at all. There was just had these different bosses and different maps, right, in different instances, and there was like, not instances, sorry, but in different areas of the maps. I can't remember, it was like water, fire, and earth or something
The
like
issue
that.
was it was just too vertical for what you were allowed to use in World versus
It
World.
was
back
like
in the
Heart
day.
of Thorns.
Yeah.
It was like Heart of
Yeah,
Thorns,
they
and
really
without,
should have
like,
allowed
the
gliding
things.
in that map to begin
Yeah,
with.
exactly. And then
Well,
maybe
then-
it would have worked, I guess.
But if you think like if they were to do like more maps for World versus World, I mean, they obviously tried to do one, I believe, that was underwater, which was kind of a huge wash. But some people really liked the tactics. But some people would it
That was
be
the beginning. That was the first one. That was yeah.
like would that be something where you think that like kind of like how we've seen in raids mounts, you know, like now you can use mounts and stuff. Do you think that if we got a new map for World versus World, it would be something where having increased capabilities using like the mastery systems that we have or other things within that would make it fresher and more interesting?
I hope
as
so.
a
That sounds like a great
Yeah.
idea. I think
Ley
because
lines, jumping mushrooms.
it's just because like there's
Could be
it just makes sense that you could have one more map in there, like to have 3 different Borderlands instead of 2 of the same and 1 different one, you know?
I think that's
So,
true.
Have a Cantha one. And I mean, if they're doing Cantha, and because the Jade Seed, the Jade Seed,
The Jades.
and because the Jade Seed is now no longer Jade because the curse is gone, it's all water. It's possible that we do need different ways to go around in the water. A lot of people are saying boats. I think that's a great idea. Maybe underwater mounts, more of them.
Jellyfish,
Or-
yeah.
Bit of more underwater weapons. I don't know, something like that. If we do that, maybe you can have a more water-bound map for the Borderlands. A lot of people would probably hate that, but
Oh,
if,
God, no.
but if you turn it into ship battles, World versus World, where-
Pirating. Anchor,
literal
fight.
pirate ship meta.
Well,
That'd be super
that
fun.
would be awesome, yes, but not
Sea of
allowing.
Thieves.
If they go into
Guild
what, you
pirate
die,
ships.
though. Guild pirate
Yeah.
ships?
And then you put on
Guild
a
pirate
jumping,
ship.
a jumping
my
mushroom,
goodness.
and then you can like launch yourself onto the ship.
New
That'd be so
world
fun.
versus world map with fucking pirates. Not fucking pirates, but like.
I mean,
what are the pirates doing over there?
Sexual pirates?
these sailors have been at sea for a long time.
That's a
Sorry,
good idea.
yeah, it's explicit now.
I think that'd be fun. And then if you had the drinking game, if you had that, you could play drinking game on your boat and get a buff or something. I don't know. That's just like
I mean, there's
So,
the outfits, the ships are in there as well. I mean, they've got all the assets. They just need to
And-
put some sea in there.
To be honest,
good.
we had a leak before I put it in our chat in the back there. Remember, there was a guild chat a while ago, and as a joke, Bobby Stein revealed his screen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like full
Oh
of
yeah, and it's blurred.
very silly things. It was blurred. Somebody like enhanced.
They did.
Someone enhanced it. And it was full of very silly things like Logan is on the hunt according to his OK Seraph profile, etc., etc. But then there's one thing that I would love to read too far into, which is, hold on a second. It was new feature romance system. So like we were talking about,
I'll put it on the
says-
stream as well.
ship your friends, ship your enemies, ship everything. I think that is a subtle hint towards not only are we getting marriage in Cantha, but we are
And
also
ships.
getting ships as a mastery. Yeah.
love
Yeah.
it, love it.
Mhm.
I'm tweeting it out. According to us, we are
I
getting
never- Wow.
the following in Guild Wars 2's next expansion.
I mean, in addition to that, I'm-
and marriage. What could go wrong? Sorry. Continue.
in addition to that, I do have an odd addiction to perusing ArtStation under the Guild Wars 2 tag.
Whew, where are we going right there? We're getting more explicit now. And
What
now
if
it's
we want to
over to
make
Guild Wars
this an
2
operating stream? No. I have I have a love for looking at concept art, particularly concept
Yes.
art that is hard to find. And ArtStation is a great place for that. there was an art station page for an arena artist, I think back in like 2016 or 2017. So this was a while ago. But they did concept a bunch of different cultural ships back then. So it's something that they might have been thinking about even prior to all of this. There were like Asuran ships, like commander ships, like really cool char ships. And when I looked at that, I thought that was actually a recent post, but it was a bit back. It was like 2017 or 2018 or something. I'm not exactly sure.
This is not where I thought this podcast was going.
That's super interesting.
It is.
It's awesome.
No, I mean,
Find it actually.
Find it. I'll share it. I'll share it on the stream.
I think if we're thinking about some kind of new mastery, like because there's different sort of categories of masteries, but
Yeah.
I do tend to think like gliding mounts kind of fall into that mobility kind of mastery facet alongside even things like the mushrooms and stuff like that, right? So if we're thinking about, what they could add that would be something new and dynamic, but still in that same vein, I agree with the sea being, liquid now. It does make sense for boats to be some kind of part of it, though they did just make the mount, the skimmer,
Underwater,
able to go
yeah.
underwater and on top. So it does make me kind of wonder if that was them prepping for water zones, but like not necessarily ships but I could see something like that. And honestly, when we think about Cantha and we think about the setting and the landscapes and things like the Jade Sea and all of these different areas, I'm really hoping, and this is kind of an adjacent one, that we get some kind of map that's actually like a combat exploration map that is set like in the city, because I loved that about Guild Wars 1. I loved that like you were pushing into parts of the city where it was seedy and like this stuff where there were monsters in the sewers and like all of that kind of stuff. It's so rare that in an MMO that the city centers are like a part of the exploration and combat maps. So I would love to be able to explore with that. I think that would be really cool.
I think the only game I can really think that they did that was probably ESO or Sinium when they do where they're in the city, and that was the only thing. And I'm like, that's a PvP specific thing with some quests in there. I agree, that would be cool because that's what
they
one
kinda
thing
did
I
that in Guild
remember
Wars
from
1.
Guild Wars. Well, yeah, no, that's what I think Bird of Jess is referencing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that a lot? I'd
should I
love
send them in the Discord?
the style of like maybe I don't know if it was like LA style with ships everywhere like that. That would be cool. That's what I still miss. I don't know if anyone else misses the old LA, but I do.
I definitely do. I definitely do.
Those
Now,
boat
the question-
designs are super cool. Sorry.
They're cool. The question with ships though is that so as recently as like the beginning of Path of Fire, it felt like their engine didn't support vehicles that well. Like, when you go into the first instance in Path of Fire and you're on the airship, and if you jump off before the airship stops moving, you have a different speed versus the rest of the map. Like you're still going as your base speed at the speed of the airship. So they'd have to change a lot of things engine wise, I think, if they want to implement boats properly. But maybe they'd turn it into sort of like a boat mount. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
These are flipping awesome. These are so good.
You're welcome.
Look at this boat.
I provide the
It's a
highest
flipping
quality
dragon.
drugs.
Look how good this is. Oh
cool.
my god. You need to
find
watch the VOD, people, if you're on Anchor, but like there's
amazing
a dragon
stuff.
There's like a dragon where the front of the ship is the dragon head, but these are flying.
I mean, even if they just did something like guild ships, kind of like how
That
you
one's
build the
fine.
guild hall, like if you were able to do things and like various stuff and like get different materials together and then build it and make a ship, that would be super fun. I'd be down
awesome.
for that too.
Damn. That art is so good, to be honest, in all honesty. Yeah. Well, I mean, another thing you never know. I mean, that feels like it could be a big dream thing, but maybe, we're going outside.
I feel like that
I don't know.
that might be the game-changing thing, boats. Like in Heart of Thorns, it was basically gliding was their game-changing thing, and in Path of Fire, it was definitely mounts. They need a game-changing
There needs to
thing.
be something. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be a race. There's not going to be. Well, I don't think there's going to be a race. I mean,
Blasphemy.
I mean,
Jeez,
all right,
are you gonna
right,
take
okay.
this?
All right. I need to go and
This is a
I need to
democracy.
go outside for a moment, but I will be back. But keep talking about the boats for a moment, okay? I know the question I'm going
We're
to
all
say
entertaining here.
is, do you want to have a boat for yourself or for you, like your mates, your friends, your guild? Like, what kind of boat do you want? Or can it
You're
be a
gonna take
guild?
off your earphones, right?
Yeah, I'm going. I've literally got to go outside for like 3 minutes.
Okay, cool.
Great. No, take your time.
I
Great,
have
go.
to, I
longer,
have to go and do
fine.
something
We'll be
very, very
totally-
quickly.
Will be appropriate in
Oh,
your
okay.
moment. Cool stuff.
I
Nothing
can
will
just-
catch on fire
I
while
need
you're
to go
gone.
and ask about some noise that might be potentially made very, very shortly. Because
Go
I can
ahead,
hear it come. I can hear it coming. There's like work going here, and I might not be able to talk. So I'm going to check. All right, I'll be right back. Be nice.
It's okay.
Great.
Take off your earphones.
Take them off. See you later. Bye, Jeb.
Bye. Okay, keep
Bye.
waving. Keep waving. But now, what are we turning this podcast into?
I don't know. We got a lot of options.
Can we talk? I don't know. What if we just
Okay.
keep waving? What if
What if we make it about
it's a
how to
nice
do
arm
the best
exercise?
royal wave?
We are not amused.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
But
all right.
boats.
Yes.
Boats.
Oh no, boats, not boots. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Butts.
Don't get
But
seasick.
That
aka
reminds
vomit.
me. I wanted to say
Do it overboard.
the feature that I'm looking forward to most in End of Dragons is that we truly in the storyline and also the features do get to discover much more about the End of Dragons. So the butts of the dragons.
Butt dragon.
Yeah. So I really don't think we've seen the dragon butts that much so far.
There's been a sad
Wait.
lack. And I mean, Zaitan really didn't have so much of a butt as like just a lot of weird tentacles down there. I'm gonna be
Mhm.
honest.
You could say his butt was a little bony. But I need to leave.
You nailed it. Did great. I'm really proud of you,
Oh.
Kroof. It's great.
Has anyone tried to get behind wait, everybody stop. Okay. He's back. Hi,
My
Deborah.
headphones are so loud I can hear you.
Hi.
It's so bad.
Oh.
My hearing is so
Nothing
messed up.
happened.
No.
Oh no,
We were
I'm
just talking
completely-
about the end of dragons.
Yeah.
And
End of Dragons.
that
Yeah.
we're
End of
excited to
boats.
learn more about the end of dragons and
Mhm.
dragons in particular. Which, no joke, no funny, no like laugh, ha 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 aside, I genuinely am excited to learn more about the dragons because for me, I love them and adore them, and Oreen's amazing, and I'm a big sucker for anything fantasy wise that involves dragon or dragon riding. So for me, I am really looking forward to getting to see more with them. I really hope we get to be friends with the dragons.
Yeah.
And that's my dream.
You want to ride
And-
the dragon, basically.
I don't want them all to die. And Kunavang seems super chill. And I just,
Oh.
Oh, Kunavang's been around for way too long, so that's... yeah.
God.
I mean, they survived, right? I haven't played it. I read up on the story and everything else, but like, and I don't think this is really spoilers because it's been out for a fair while now, everyone. I'm pretty sure that Kunavang like helped you a lot, like in one of the games, and like lived. And I think,
Yeah.
like, you know,
You just
Kroof
spoiled-
is just like,
You just spoiled everything for
and
Kroof.
I'm gonna go and play it before this comes out. But like, you know, I'm pretty sure that, you know, End of Dragons, I mean, it depends. Like, you know, maybe it's at the end of all of them. Is it at the end of them being dragons? Maybe they're not going to be dragons anymore. They could just not be dragons. They don't have to die. They could evolve. They could go into
Like
space,
into
like Boots
squirrels.
said, you know, Guild Wars 2 in space.
Oh
This is
yeah,
where-
I'm so glad you brought that up
No,
because I
God.
didn't want to have to bring it up
God.
again.
I thought you were going to talk about that when I went away. That's what I should have said. I should have said, right, I'm going stepping away from a moment. Get this out of your system. Guild Wars 2
Guild
in
Wars 2
space.
in space. After End of Dragons, somebody actually asks it in chat. The bigger question is what's next
Yeah.
after End of Dragons? The answer is Guild Wars 2 in space.
In space.
That's it.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I
Humans
mean,
are
we're
aliens.
covering all the landscapes here, okay? We got above ground, underwater, in caves, on mountains. The only logical thing to do is go to space.
No,
And
I'm
then-
not logical for
Being
you.
the myths
So
or
it's okay,
whatever, you know,
so-
like different planets.
And then we'd get a spaceship for the next
Mhm.
evolution of cool features.
Mastery, spaceship mastery, guild spaceship.
Technically, Ritlock's
And
been
then
in
it turns
space
into Star
anyway.
Wars. You have fighter planes and fighter jets that go pew 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 pew, and then
Yeah.
you have lightsabers. Hollowsmith is an indicative of that. So
Indicator.
I agree wholeheartedly with
Amazing.
every single thing that's being said right now. Yes.
But
Oh dear.
I don't. I would like to see. I would like this story to move away from dragons and move away to completely new things that have not been explored, like different cultures, like Utopia or something, or the Isles of Janthier or something like that. So
I
Yeah,
want
there's
new
a lot of-
places, new places and new things.
Yeah.
Yes.
We know that like the globe itself is massive. We've only touched a tiny bit of it. So there's a lot of possibility on the actual planet or, even elsewhere because the human gods are a big thing. And I think a lot of the history of that, it would make total sense to explore.
Yeah.
But
We gotta follow them into space.
going way back to the boats question before it turned into a butts discussion.
Hey, don't tell him.
Don't worry about it. Boats.
Who is responsible?
A single player thing versus a group thing. I think that if it's more of a single player thing, barring something like customization of boats and unique pieces and things that you could get for that and like 1v1 sort of battles or whatever you could do there, it seems to me that it'd be most likely to just function, like you said, like a mount. But if it's a group thing, I think that could be something that they could do fun group content around. Yeah, drawing inspiration from stuff like Sea of Thieves, where there's actually tasks you have to do together or stuff. But that's a much larger system. So do I
Also,
think they would do that? I don't know, but
It's tough. But you got a good point, actually. I just realized that I remembered there was data mined concept art for a
Ship.
no, not a ship, for a multiplayer mount.
That is a
gimme.
ship.
Oh, I've seen a bunch of.
That is
That
a
would make
ship.
sense. Yeah.
So
Wait, where
they
is
could
it?
just
Where?
change that to a boat,
Message it.
right?
Yeah.
Message it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anything else
Actually,
that's
do I
not
put-
just like run of the mill stuff that we would want from this expansion.
Yeah.
What I would like to not have as well.
Dungeons.
And I love that shaman. I love that shaman, but I want no data mine shit anymore. I'm just bored of it. I just want to be
Really?
surprised by stuff. I hate data mining so much. It ruins it. Devs
Wow.
hate data mining. Devs in most games, in pretty much most games, and I feel pretty confident about this, hate data mining because it ruins the surprise of things. And it's
Yeah.
cool. Like you can put spoilers in Reddit things. You can put spoiler on this stuff over here. You can post this somewhere. You can not follow someone, but you're gonna find out about it because it's on the internet, and you're in communities of people playing a game that's an MMO. People talk about this stuff. I do not like data mining. I think that shaman and those guys, they do awesome work, and that's cool. And you can like data mining. That's okay. I don't like it because it ruins the game for the devs as well as for a lot of other people. But
I don't mind it that much. I like getting
think they
teasers
don't-
sometimes.
I think part of it is that they don't give us. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, Menzo, or anyone in chat. You don't have to agree. It's my opinion. That's what opinions are. They're mine. And
All
I have to
opinions
agree
are
with
mine.
me. Just my opinion. But the thing is with Guild Wars 2,
I agree,
because you
though.
are like literally not given any information about anything, it feels like data mining is news that would be helpful.
Yeah.
So it's like, to a degree, I don't mind it as much in Guild Wars 2, but I know for a fact that it upsets people. I know for a fact. And like, it does do a thing to the game where when they're not ready to talk about something, we've had stuff which has been data mined in the past, which gets people excited, and it's not even in the game. It's just there because they were going to think about bringing it in, and it would have been good to upload the asset then and there. And
I
it's
feel like most of
school
the things that
outfits.
are
I don't
data. I feel like most of the things that are data mined are not They have not been harmful to the game compared to like things that have been leaked in the past.
I mean, some of it has been data mined that has been like abilities and stuff and things like that were released way too early for like Path of Fire. There was stuff that was data mined, like images and stuff where people, which was cool though, because you could start to.
That's true. The professions were the elite professions
were, and like which is cool because you can be like, you can start to theory craft around what does this image mean rather than what is, because that's what I think it was. Don't think it was like specific word, like, descriptions or anything like that. I mean, I'm not massively au fait of data mining, to be honest, but like, It was images specifically, and that kind of stuff is cool. Like I would like right now, I would like to have, say, you know, a image from each elite specialization released now, not necessarily with weapon in the hand, maybe an ability, something like that. We're just like, ooh, look at this. The engineer has this thing. What could that mean? Theorycraft. Everyone completely loses their shit for a while and starts talking about it because it's like, it's not something that this is my wish and what I want for Guild Wars 2's next expansion. It's not even content related. It's not even
you just
content
want no
related.
leaks?
I want no. I mean, no leaks is like just a thing. I mean, in a way, the leaks I think actually promoted the game. Unfortunately, it was awful, but I think it actually did help to promote the game. Unfortunately. Because of the thing I'm going to say right now. My desire, my want, my wish for Guild Wars 2's next expansion, End of Dragons.
Oh.
Promotion! That's
Yes.
it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
It's
Like,
it. It's literally give us the bloody stuff before. But the thing is, they've done it before.
That's true.
Heart of Thorns was so good. So
I
good.
loved it.
It was so good the way they did
Yeah.
it, and it was
I
like
love.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Deb. Go ahead.
No,
Go
that's,
ahead.
I'm gonna go off on one, and then you can have the mic after. I just have to go off on one for a minute.
Sis.
It's
Get
a bit
'em.
of a vent. It's a bit of a ramble, but I've been talking about this for a long time. It's all in, and I think this is due to the directorship changing, because I know Colin Johansson's way of thinking is very different to what Mo's line of thinking is, and I think that's how high it goes up. Mo is very much about this surprising people with stuff when it comes out. It's 2021, people. It's 2020. That shit ain't worked since Commodore 64 was a thing. You know, it's like, that's cool. We're always being surprised because technology is developing at a ridiculous level. Now, people want to know what they're doing in life, especially now with the COVID and all the other things going on. You know, we want to know what, with the amount of games that are coming out, you know, if you, Elder Scrolls Online, I think they actually do it in a way which is too much information and you aren't surprised hardly at all, which is unfortunate. But they have a roadmap for the entire year. You know, in March, April, May, June, July, four times a year, you're getting DLCs. You know, you're getting 4 dungeons, a chapter, which is a smaller expansion, and a big story patch. You know you're getting them, and you know even the dates you're getting them. You know if there's going to be, you know, new features, what kind of dungeons. They run through the dungeon releasing it, and they show you the stuff. They show you new abilities. If there's going to be a new class, they show you some features of it. They get you excited. Same with Final Fantasy 14, right? I mean, you're nodding, so I'm going to assume yes. and they do this with MMOs. They say, new class, whoa, look at this thing. Heart of Thorns, they let us all play it on stream before anyone else. Like, as creators, I think Boots, maybe, I'm pretty sure you were there when that happened. Kroof, I'm not sure, maybe a bit early for you. But we played them on stream. We were dueling. I remember dueling Shin. Don't know if you remember who Shin is. He used to be a Guild Wars 2 creator back in the day. And I was like, you know, I think I was dueling him, like Gamer Storm, Hurix and stuff like that. New like Mesmer random builds. We were just playing loads of stuff in Spirit Watch on stream, and we had so many people in the directory, like just theory crafting builds, doing all this stuff. They had the demo of Heart of Thorns before, where everyone could jump in. They could play Revenant in the first area, like the first bit of story in the new map. They literally invited all the creators out to, either in Europe, it was to Brighton, and they had this bigger event. I remember being there with like Wooden Potatoes and like the German guys, Guild News, tons of people, Spanish creators, some of them are like really big streamers now. And then like the Americans, like all the Americans going into the office in Bellevue and Seattle. And there's such excitement was generated around this expansion. It didn't matter if it was crap. They were going to get a ton of sales. You know, it was guaranteed to be an event. It was going to be a thing. And then Path of Fire wasn't at all. Like, it was just nothing. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was the announcement of PAX West, and then it was just like almost the complete opposite of what they'd done the time before. And I think it showed. I really think it did. And I'm not saying, like, you know, obviously things like finances change, you know, priorities, the way they want to try things out. And, you know, I'm not bashing on ArenaNet or saying, you know, their marketing team are awful or anything like that. I don't think that's the issue. I think, you know, that maybe was a decision at the top was made. And also maybe them trying to do things, but and I respect that and trying to try and different things, which is what ArenaNet do. But with this, I really just want them to do that. I want them to give us some stuff to look at, to play, to show people, to create content with, to get people excited about the game again and be like, you know what? I want to come back and play this thing. Because look at this, you know, flashy effect on the engineer. That looks cool. I want to be a lightsaber dude or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I want to be that thing. You know, I played Guild Wars 1. I want to be a thief now because I can be an assassin maybe, because that's something that's coming back from Guild Wars. You know,
that is the purpose of an expansion. To create a new level of hype that isn't achieved by just the run-of-the-mill expansion in the things in the game. Yeah.
And day one Path of Fire streams, like, I don't remember them being that ridiculous. I remember everyone's viewership went up by a bit, but it wasn't much. And it was like, it could have been much more. Everything. I don't know.
Yeah.
Brooke,
Well,
sorry.
Yeah.
Before I
More
expand
and more.
I don't even know.
Oh, no, I was just saying, like, more and more the culture that surrounds games and how we as players decide what games to play or what's interesting, it is revolving in a different way, right? The idea, like you said, of be completely without any expectations and then suddenly, boom, oh, surprise, look at all these things I didn't know I got. Like, that's not really a thing anymore because there are so many games on the market that people, especially MMO players or players who might be in a specific genre that are looking to like balance their finances, their funding for the season, whatever it is, where they're going to be subscribing or not, although Guild Wars 2 is really great about the cost, right? Which is a huge thing about the game. It's one of those things where people make those decisions based off of what they're seeing and what they're hearing. So content creators, social media, the hype that's generated. We've seen this even with Among Us, a game that was like initially released and there was barely anything about it. And then it suddenly surged, right? So if you're getting people hyped on all different levels, it trickles down. And I agree. Now, I do think it's also important to mention that in the context of games that have a similar revenue model to Guild Wars 2, and this is really important because we forget about this a lot, and Guild Wars 2 gets compared to Final Fantasy 14 ESO, these companies that do have these huge mega companies behind them that like they have so many titles, clout, finances that come in from so many different places. It's a very different beast. So I usually look most closely at the game Warframe, actually, when comparing it to Guild Wars 2, because they both share similar revenue models. They both are free to play in a sense, and there's, you know, cash shop items, but you can usually exchange currencies, so on and so forth, right? So
pretty close.
All of that said, that just gives a context where I don't ever necessarily expect Guild Wars 2 to have the kind of outline and content roadmap that other games do.
Yeah.
Even with Warframe, they're usually more hesitant to announce new features. They do, I think, do a better job of overall like hyping it up and doing their streams and doing the stuff and getting the things out. But content is constantly delayed. Stuff is abandoned halfway through. They just don't have the same, you know what I mean? Like, it's something where because you are playing this game where they are really not turning much profit off of you unless you choose to give them profit, it creates a different dynamic for what you do and how you communicate it and what that schedule and new content might look like. So that's important to remember. But with that said, when you have something like a new major feature coming up, like an expansion, you have to do the promotion for it. And it should be one of those things where people don't have to necessarily go to the data mine because they know at least the bullet points of what is happening, you know? And like, that's just the nature of it now. So Jeb, I 100% agree with you on that point of like, I really hope they have a great partner team. There's a ton of players that are still passionate and love the game. There's new players coming in. The pandemic has driven people to MMOs at a just ridiculous rate. Like, it is a way for us to connect and take journeys together when we may not be able to do so in real life. And people are really discovering that. And I love it because it's an amazing genre. So please, I understand why we can't have it year round and perfect roadmaps and all sorts of stuff, but please, I would love to see some release streams, some events, some things with content creators being able to promote stuff, people being able to, early access or like whatever it is. I would just love to see that because I think the game deserves it and I want to see it continue to pick up and move on. But there's just a lot of things at play where we can't always hold it to the same standard of subscription model games that are also purchase game. You know what I mean? It's like,
of course,
there's differences. But it does need to be better in a lot of ways as far as communicating within their window of time frame for things, what is happening and what.
It's just literally telling you things. It's literally like, and I've talked about this before, and it's like that relationship that you have with, your caregivers or your parents, that are taking care of you. Unless you don't have communication about what's going on in life, you feel insecure about it. It's just like you need that little, I don't know, kind of hand on the shoulder on the or the arm around the shoulder, just saying, we've got, like, everything's gonna be okay, we're gonna be here, and nothing's gonna, there's a bright future ahead. I don't know, but do you know what I mean? Whereas if you don't have communication, you're like, mum and dad aren't talking to me, or whoever, and what's going on? I feel abandoned. It's I always compare it to that because that's the feeling you get. Sometimes I know it's not as deep as that, but it's simple. It sounds like it's simple. And I know all the politics involved. I really do, because I've had this conversation with devs from various games and why they can and can't do things. Right, and I think that they worry about risk, and I think is a valid one, because i.e. alliances and World v World, which we spent a good chunk of time talking about. They released some information. They released a lot of information to Theorycraft, and then it's gone nowhere. Because we don't know, so that's the only assumption we can come to, or that it's coming in the expansion, and that's actually it. So it's like you're just left to wonder about these things that are kind of coming out or not coming out. But sorry, Bridge, you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say I have an idea for a event that they could do in the summertime.
Yeah,
you could do a playtest event where all you got to do is get the vaccine, and then you get to playtest the game.
That would be amazing. Yes.
Oh god.
Yeah. Partner with the CDC. Partner with the NHS.
But on that end, I think particularly right now, I don't think there's much of a risk with promotion because it can be so much more digitally focused. You don't need to buy out and spend so much hard cash and finances on renting out a big studio place, the theater, like they have in the past. While those things are great spectacles and offer a great networking situation, it's ultimately not needed, as proven by other games like Among Us and people already at home and life generally being more secluded and slower paced right now. So I think having partner things where the partners themselves get to advertise certain things, they themselves create at least really well presented points for expansions, because I think presentation and how things appear is another aspect of how marketable things are. Final Fantasy XIV has great overall presentational skills with their expansion announcements, and Path of Fire did do well with that, but they didn't have anything to back it up with play tests and individual demo things that were more focused on marketing and advertising.
Yeah, it was really Heartthorns was I felt as a creator, I think for me personally it was just a good experience, and I might be a bit selfish, but there was definitely these events that I still remember being able to play Revenant and just being there in the game, being I'm going to be a Revenant, I'm going to be able to play Revenant in Heartthorns, and this is fairly still got a couple of months till this happens, and this is cool because I think it was during the summer, I can't remember, but I remember even at the event, funny enough, I don't think any of them are still there now, I interviewed Izzy, Jessica from PvP. No, they're definitely not there anymore, and also thingy from marketing, Boots probably remember him. I can't remember his name. But there none of them are there actually anymore. At ArenaNet. But I sat in a room, videotaped it, and there's an interview on YouTube actually of me interviewing them at the event, and you were able to interview the devs. Like, it was so cool. We had dinner with them, and it was just so rad. It was like, this was in Brighton, in England, and like on the coast. I went for a romantic walk with wooden potatoes.
A picture of his shoe.
I did take a picture of his shoe. I was like,
what did his shoes
everyone is
smell
wooden
like?
potatoes. I still remember that.
What did his feet smell like?
Oh, so nice.
Not many people know, but he actually is only a foot. So he did
Yeah.
take a picture of when potatoes.
If anyone could find that tweet, I would be able, I can find it probably, but it would be a lot of going back. Ola, actually, you've probably just met, you could probably, because it went on Reddit, I think. I think it went on Reddit, and it's just a shoot. Yeah, but there's you know, that's reminding me of that event. You know, all these
I just
things
typed
that
in
kind
wooden potatoes foot. I found it.
Really? Okay, I'm
Yes.
getting this on stream. All right, so let's
I
while I do
found
that, what else is a big thing? Like, if we think about, let's legitimately think, because we've had some fun thoughts. I think, what is a legitimate thing that could be on par with a mount or a glider that can be in Guild Wars 2, that is maybe could be in the expansion? Like, is there anything else? Like, this is the thing, like, looking through the features of the past expansions, we're gonna have elite specs like this. We have to have elite specs, because at the moment there's not much else they can put in.
Oh yeah.
We have to have new maps. We have to have a player-driven story. There will obviously be a player-driven story, single-player story. There will be armor sets. There will be legendaries at some point, probably.
Oh, really? Do you think so?
What legendaries? Not collections. Yeah. Not collections, though. New weapons, maybe. There has to be, right? I mean, well,
if they release new
underwater,
weapons,
let Gen 2 underwater legendary weapons.
yeah, there you go.
Legendary, the armory. That's the thought I'm going to put into your head. Is
armory.
the legendary armory coming with this?
Yeah,
There you go.
I think so.
I feel like a lot of things might be delayed in-house to be released with the expansion.
I think this is probably ArenaNet's, I don't want to say last-ditch effort, but because they've had a trend of kind of slowing down a little bit and having some dips at times, I think they're probably holding things closer to their chest right now. And so they might have announced them previously just to kind of tease them to maybe see player reaction. But I think that they are probably going to release some of these past features like the alliance system or the armory, and at least announce them that they are coming relatively within the expansion.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I love having things that people can like work towards on a lot of different levels. So I see people in chat saying, not everybody's going to want to do a legendary, which is totally fair. So, right, that's like aspirational content. But having a lot of different things on multiple levels that people can work towards, especially cosmetically, to me, I think is always really great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, more gear sets, hopefully more just like generic gear drops and different things, special sets that you can farm from all the different areas or things like that, that kind of stuff. And I think it would also be so great if they did put in some in-game acquirable mount skins, because I don't mind. I will not be the person who complains about like spending a small amount of money on the, gem store to get some fun cosmetics to support a game that I really enjoy. I honestly don't mind, and I feel good about that. But I would love to have a few of them available in the actual game itself, which I think would also make a lot of other people feel better about it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you should be able to get that kind of stuff. So I think I'd just like to see a more even distribution of different cosmetics and types of things that you can get in the actual expansion, which then will also give more people stuff to work on as they kind of go through initially.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think, I guess the things I want most would be the alliances, some sort of guild tie-in with the world, if possible, with factions, because that was a great idea, Rook. And boots, and butts.
I think that they might also release a 10 or 15 player PvP map.
Yeah,
They've talked about it
like
a lot
Guild
in the
They
past.
did talk
Yeah.
about it
Right?
first.
I could see that. I mean, factions was such a huge expansion. That was the feature of Cantha and Guild Wars 1. but it was also so well known for its PvP. And so
Mhm.
I think it would make sense for us to have something like that. I mean, I do mostly PvE content. That's usually what I'm drawn to. So of course I want more raids, fractal, that kind of stuff like we mentioned earlier. But I think this would be a smart time to do that and put some more PvP stuff in, or even like a new mode that we might not see coming that might be inspired by, or, some other inspiration source we don't know about yet.
I keep not mentioning like the elite specs and raids and stuff like that because I keep on thinking that it's a given that we're gonna get them, but it's not.
Or that we've like covered this territory thousands of times.
No, I feel like it's a give. We're gonna get another raid or two, right? Like it's
give.
gonna happen.
I mean, I don't know if it's a given. That's the one thing that I don't know if it's a given, but I feel like looking at any MMO, it's so strange because I mentioned this before. Guild Wars 2 hasn't been consistent. It's so old. Not so old, but it's an older game and it still hasn't found its footing. Yeah, it still hasn't found this footing. 8 years into the game. And, I don't blame it because I feel like it's a no-brainer because the studio themselves has been in a lot of chaos recently, and I think that is reflective in the game. So I think the core is at the studio. If the studio can find its footing and decide what it wants to do, because we saw that they were working on so many projects. If they decide to sit down and kind of focus a lot on Guild Wars 2 and add raids, add another PvP map, add this alliance system, if they dedicate more energy to Guild Wars 2, it could work out. Because it doesn't seem like they were in the past years.
Just based on everything that we've heard, it sounds like that's what's kind of happening right now, right?
That's my sense.
Yeah, and I think so.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think,
it does feel like the vision of the game has been more coherent lately, both in like the release pace to the actual sort of like we've had new stuff introduced, but I think overall the promise of a lot of that new stuff has been pretty solid. And the actual like maps and designs and things like that, I mean, there's some pros and cons for sure. But like overall, I feel as though the vision of the story and the other stuff that we've gotten and then the release pace has felt more solid and more coherent. It's felt like it is driving towards a more specific point, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how long the story people have been there, or I can imagine working on the same game for so long and recycling so much material, especially given the narrative themes and the areas. It could probably take a toll on overall enthusiasm with the title. So,
they've had
I
this
hope that they do
story-
wrap up this storyline.
I mean, they've had this story plotted out for a long time, Kroof.
A very long time.
Very long time.
So I do think the End of Dragons needs to shift to something else.
There's something really exciting, though, about knowing that the culmination is in sight, right? I mean, I definitely agree. And I think they've had a lot of new talent come into the studio, too, which we've seen that has reflected a lot of, interesting new ideas. And even, I've noticed some writing style differences, but not in a bad way, like in a way that I think we have new ideas coming in. And that's a good thing, because I think that is what helps long term to kind of reinvigorate a team that's been working on something for a long time. But also, I think that coming to the end of something with this expansion, and even I think to some degree, not in a bad way though, leaving behind the legacy of Guild Wars 1 that they've been very directly building off of, like it'll always be a part of the world. But I get the feeling that, like we were talking about earlier, this is sort of going to be their transition into something very new and different. If this goes well and they get through it, like it's going to be something that's more its own thing outside of just like, the previous zones and stuff and Cantha and throwbacks, and building off of the momentum that started in Guild Wars 1 that we've seen culminate in Guild Wars 2. So this has to be a really exciting time for them. I'm sure they really want to knock it out of the park. And I'm hoping that does like make everybody, everybody on the team feel that energy, whether they're like a veteran or somebody new that's bringing in new ideas. And I have good hopes for that. I think it has to be an exciting time, all things considered.
A lot of challenges they're going through as everyone else is while they're at home and doing this stuff. I can't even imagine trying to get excited about a new expansion while you're working from home on this and you're not surrounded by your like work colleagues and stuff. It must be It'd be interesting to see how that affects it, whether or not, because I think it will. Like,
What?
I mean,
We're all nerds. I thought we were introverted. What?
it's just that collaboration, isn't it?
confused.
Like, literally saying to you,
Yeah.
like, someone like, come over here for 2 seconds, have a look at this, rather than like just being like, just kind of doing it on your own and maybe being in a call with someone that's completely different, maybe sharing screens. I don't know how they do it, how they adjusted to that. It's the challenge, and it'll be interesting to see, I think, like how that has affected what they've built in a way that is very different. So it's, I guess, like from the expansion as well, and I know we've been going for about 2 hours now, so if people do need to go, that's absolutely fine, and we can kind of come to an end, or if people want to stick around for a little bit longer, we can do that.
I'm
I might have to leave in about 5 minutes.
That's okay, that's cool, no worries. We might continue for a little bit longer if Rook and Kroof are up for it.
I can do a bit longer.
Yeah.
Have to be too long.
It's a little bit longer too.
But because I feel bad that we haven't actually spoken about much of the stuff we want in this expansion.
What are the things that we want to talk about? I thought we
we have talked about a lot of
talk
stuff.
about.
Like there's like the player housing, about skill versus
We
skill.
need to
I
talk
think
about new race. We need to
New
talk
race.
about and fully flesh it out.
so. You
fully
want
flesh
you
out.
want a new race. You want a new race.
Yes.
You're really
Who
starting
doesn't
this.
want a
You're
new
starting this
race?
conversation 5 minutes before you're gonna leave.
I can come up in 10 minutes.
5
Easy.
minutes.
Quick fire. Boots, you have the floor.
Quick
Welcome to
fire
TED
round.
Talk.
Go.
go for it.
All right. Tengu. I mean, it's got to be Tengu, right? You got to bring the Tengu back in. You got to. Anyway. In the original, in the
What do you mean
Guild Wars 2
anyway? You can't say
expansion-
anyway.
In
Like,
the
what's what
Guild
you
Wars
want?
2 expansions, you had factions in Nightfall. You had new classes essentially brought into the game, right? Instead,
Yeah.
they didn't have other races.
Mhm.
You had new classes brought into the game, and the way they did that is they had a starting zone. Then again, they only had 20 levels, so it's a lot easier. But they had a starting zone in the new area, and then they would be brought into. In Cantha, for example, it was Xingje Island. It was the little starting island. Then
Yeah.
you'd be brought into where the rest of the people would come in from the Tyria continent. I think that they could do that again. Honestly, it's going to be a ridiculous amount of work, unfortunately, but they can do that again. They still have Xingje Island. They have the Domain of Winds. They could have starting zones for Tengu, and then have them meet up with the rest of the people in whatever the players are going to play. And also, they don't even have to, because of level scaling that you have in all the maps, you don't even have to have it go from like your starting zone is 0 to 5, and then you do 5 to 45, and then you jump to 80 or something. You could have lower level maps that the old players with old tunes join in to those maps and get scaled down. I mean, maybe they don't want to do that because they like saying everything's level 80 content in the expansions, but they could still do it. What else?
Yeah.
What else? There's more. We could talk about the things that could go wrong with that, though, first. Someone give me...
Some of the things that could go right. Beautiful bird people. There's nothing wrong with that.
Beautiful
It's all
bird
good.
people.
Who does not like verbs?
Who doesn't like birds?
I'm confusion.
I mean, the only
Jabro, do
problem
not
is,
talk. We know you like dwarf. It's fine.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The only problem is dwarves exist, so screw all of
Yeah,
it.
but
I was on the
Dwarves are
they're,
the best.
they're all stone, you know? They're like...
They're amazing. What are you talking
They're
about?
crunchy.
What if they make?
Fall apart.
What
They're
if they
more
make two
humanoid-y.
races?
It would be easy to make the armor
There's
for
no
them.
way. There's no. I wish, Kroof. I wish
Norn.
with all my heart we got 2 new races. I will
I
be.
think they could. I think they could.
Like, I'll trust
Because
you.
they already did they already did a bunch of the artwork and stuff and changes and updates in Heart of Thorns. And then they've made dwarves relatively recently where all they did was shrink down a Norn. That's all they did.
True enough.
With what? With what?
I mean, yeah.
With humans?
Dwarves.
No,
That's
that's
what they did.
not true. Have you seen
No,
them?
I
Ogden.
No. This is from a
Check out
developer. I
Ogden.
was watching a live stream and they said, we shrunk down a dwarf. We shrunk down a Norn.
That's awesome.
They just shrunk a Norn.
Direct from the developers,
So,
Chad.
like, I mean, then that's fine.
I'm like,
I mean, that's what
I'm
they did
like
with humans, right? They
90%
just
sure.
made bigger humans, I guess. So why don't like
And
that?
in one
yeah,
of
big
the,
humans buff.
But look
in
at
one of the
that's
most
not
recent
right.
Dragon response missions, when you talk to one
I'm
of the
pretty
dwarves,
sure that's right.
when
Pretty
you talk to one of the
sure.
dwarves, they don't have stone texture on their face. They're not stone anymore. One of the dwarves,
Yeah.
like you know,
No,
the
They
picture
weren't
that
all stone in there, were they?
yeah,
I
Yeah, they
think
were.
they all got. I thought they all got turned to
they all
stone.
got turned to stone.
I mean, they all
But
did get turned stone, but I don't know if they were all stone in the instance. Were they
they're
actually all
stone.
stone
But
in the
when you
instance?
talk to one of them in the game, the dialogue box comes up, and the face of the dwarf is not in stone. Unlike like stone mender and stuff like that, this guy does not have a stone face. So it's possible that it's probably just an oversight technically.
I mean, they could do. I mean, then that's what they need to do with the outfits as well and the armor. They just make it like put
Shrink
it on
it.
a Norn and shrink it. Like if that's what
Shrink
they're
it.
doing, like
That's
Tengu,
why I think
it's like a same charm model, kind of not the same charm model, but it looks like
Yeah,
it's the same
it's similar.
wiring.
That's why I think they could do two
Yeah, it's
if
kinda
they were
loose.
going to go with dwarf, putting more effort maybe in the Tengu fixing some armor pieces,
Wolf.
while the dwarf, if the technology and the coding
the
allows,
dwarf
it.
technology
If
is
you-
there.
if they just shrink things, because I'm not lying. I think either they had said like when they were testing it they shrunk Norn, or they said that the ultimate model is a shrunken Norn. So one of the two.
So now we're going from very certain for certainties to now not sure.
Look, I have put my faith in
Hey.
Kroof. I'm believing that we could get to, and I believe that they're
I don't
tiny.
know. I think
So-
Or they could
Jax
space
should
it out. They
decide.
could do one race, and then eventually, if that race brings out a lot of people, they could do another race. Or I don't know.
Yeah, I
The problem-
definitely-
If
Oh, go ahead.
dwarf was there, I'd be happy. I don't care if it's a short dwarf.
The
No.
playable race is that your backstory is I've been fighting
You're in
the
space.
destroyers for 200 years. Everybody's backstory is I've been fighting the destroyers for 200 years, and now I'm not.
Well, the Tengus is I've just been locked behind a wall, I guess. For
There are more
doing.
than just the Tengus in the domain of winds. They're all over Cantha.
Yeah, but like, are we talking about? But are they going to be specific Tengu though? Like, are they going to be
They
specific?
have to
Tengu?
originate from the Dominion of Winds. Yeah,
Maybe.
I don't
I
think they-
guess. I don't know.
You would think. I mean, it does seem like a perfect segue. And Boots, I agree with you. I 100% think that they could do it. They could do something like that. We've seen it happen in other games where they have that sort of side zone and they bring you in. And I think it would get new players hyped and old players hyped to make a new character, to sort of try and experience that and see that. Tengu to me seems the most obvious, but Dwarf or Largos I think are also pretty viable options. It's one of those things where I hope that they give us a new race. They have never done it before, but to me, it would be an indicator that, like, yes, we are going to deliver features that we know are going to be exciting for players and that are usually kind of foundational in other MMOs. And this will be something that will be exciting and that you didn't expect. And so we're going to do it. And I really I'm holding on to it. I do think there's at least a chance we get one. Two would be mind blowing. I'd be so excited, but I think that one for sure. And then, I mean, if this does seem like something that's good, I mean, in future expansions, if that's something they started to do, that would be great. But
In the next expansion after that. Because it's in space. We've already decided that, right? Yeah.
yes, no, it's definitely in space.
Oh my god.
Boats and race.
I mean, we already have breathing apparatus, so it's fine.
Well, there has to be. I think, at the very least, there's got to be something out there that they're bringing in. There's got to be the gliders. Then there was the mounts and Path of Fire, and now there's got to be. God, that would be insane.
Maybe we have another Heart of Thorns situation. They just go all in again. We get the new race. We get boats. We get
You mean new class?
alliances. We get housing.
Yeah.
We get new weapon sets. We get obviously your elite specs, and then. Is there anything else that we could put on this wish list?
Photo mode.
Photo mode. Photo mode.
Engines.
Like the
Where we
Final
take
Fantasy
pictures.
one. That Final
And that's
Fantasy
where I
photo
will
mode is
leave that, because
ridiculous.
that is the things we're getting.
Okay. Yeah, the
Bye,
photo
guys.
mode in Final Fantasy 14
Bye,
is
Boots.
pretty ridiculous.
Thank you so
All
much.
right,
It was
buddy.
great talking with you.
I'm just gonna have to
Bye.
redo
Lovely
this.
talking with you, Boots.
See you soon, Boots. Thank you.
Have a
mate.
nice day.
Thanks.
Or
See you
night. I
guys
don't know where
later.
you are.
Cheers.
Try to fix the photos once I leave. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Oh my god, can you put me in Boots' spot?
You're in my spot. Actually,
Kroof, now
you're
it's
in
time
my
to pretend
spot
to be
like
Boots.
ridiculously well. That's crazy.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, I'm Kroof now. I'm half Kroof.
I am.
Oh no,
I'm
sorry.
so
I actually
ready.
put you back. To...
It's Tuesday, innit? Welcome to the stream.
No,
My
you're
name's
yourself
Deborah.
now. What?
Damn.
Oh my god.
Damn. Deborah has
It
hair.
sounded just
Deborah has
like
hair.
him.
It's impeccable. It's so,
What are you
it's
talking
so
about?
amazing.
I don't even sound like that.
That's exactly how
I
Deborah.
don't even sound like that.
Wow.
Trumpets and things.
Don't even sound like that. What the fuck? I'm not from like oldie England.
I
Back in,
know
like,
that shit. You
flipping-
went anywhere.
Oh,
Oops. Oh wait.
I'm
Sorry.
Boots now.
You are boots.
Better
No problem.
Oh my god.
What was that? No, I'm sorry. What was that, Kroof? What again?
But yeah.
You want to go again, Kroof?
Sorry, it was the inner Californian coming out. I apologize. I
Wait,
could
what
go really
happened?
valley. It was the inner valley beach Californian accent, the vocal fry, and like, oh my god, hi.
I'm kind of sad I'm not Boots anymore. I was going to talk about how everybody should get married to each other and start the great alliances, but I mean, this is fine too, I guess.
I was just gonna say more space stuff. We would have got him.
Yeah, that's true.
Just if you want to hook books in, just be like, hey Boots, we're talking about Guild Wars 2 in space. I'll be like, I'm on.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Let's do it.
It was actually really late in the day though. I was like, had to chuck someone else in. And I was like, okay, Boots is someone who may be able to join us. It was like, yeah, cool. I'm not doing
Boots up
anything.
for it.
And you know, I'm not doing anything. I was like, dude, I don't
He's down to clown. The clownery being me. That's fine.
It's all right. I'll move you. I got this. Okay.
We all set.
We're
Great.
good. We're not
Oh
going
my
to
God,
go
I
on for
feel
too
settled.
much longer because I've got to go to the post office. Yay! Because someone broke into our building and stole all that shit.
Oh, that's not good.
Nah, happened a while ago. Gotta get that stimulus check so I can spend it on Guild Wars 2, the next expansion.
Yeah, it's going to take that whole stimulus check, so you better be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the price tag? What do you guys want the price tag to be?
Oh, there we go. Price tag. Yes. Chat. What's the price tag?
And it's
Us.
about the money. I'm gonna get copyright.
Griff, how
I
much is it going to be? Oh no, sorry.
Oh, go-
Rick, how much is it going to be? I don't care. Someone talk.
Money. I think it's gonna be. I think the cheapest version is gonna be 40, and then I hope that
Okay.
there are special versions. I really want a statue. I want like the Ritlock collection.
Collector's edition.
I want it to be like Aureen because I personally love her and would die for her. So I want it to be like Aureen, very bad. And that's just
Aureen
me.
would be great.
Wait a minute. He's talking. You want to? Oh, okay, right. Let me get. All right, keep talking.
Well, y'all, I don't know about chat, but I'm a high baller, okay? I was gonna say $1,000 and up, okay? What? We're not bringing that energy into 2020.
Kroof is not gonna be $1,000, not unless they
You get that-
literally give me Aureen real
You
life
get that
cloned and
stimulus
alive.
check. You get that stimulus check, you cash it, and you get the expansion. Just kidding. Okay, Jabber has come to taunt us and mock us. Wow, thank you.
Is Ritlock gonna be the new host, Jen? The new third
You
host?
haven't even unboxed it. Is this going to
that's
be an
so fun.
unboxing stream?
How are you supposed to do fun voices and play with your figurine if you don't take it out of the box?
Exactly.
I mean, it's doable. I mean, they've done it before. Collector's edition. They've done it before. They did it for release, so.
I would love it. That would be. I'd be happy about it. I'd be very excited.
Sorry, that thing's heavy.
I would like it too. I think it would. I mean, does Final Fantasy do collector's editions where they have like figurines? Okay, great. So every like,
Okay,
every
great.
MMO does it.
So, this is what we're doing.
Every MMO does it. Maybe Guild Wars 2 could do it because they only really did it with their release, and you know, it'd be nice for people who like to collect physical commodity. You know.
Yeah, other
That'd be great.
games not doing it still. It's I don't. Yeah, it's. It's expensive. It's expensive for them to do, but people would buy it for sure. I think they
Definitely.
Yeah.
they make stuff all the time.
Mark
that
it
they
up
don't sell.
200%.
Mark it up, ship it out.
I will shamelessly spend a dumb amount of money on it. So please and thank you.
Yeah.
Would like it.
Yep.
I mean, even if we just get digital goods, I'm sure we will. But I think that'll be fun too if you just get some cool new things. Yeah,
I really want a good
can't
outfit.
imagine.
Though. I want a good outfit this time. Give me
I
a good
can't
outfit.
imagine, honestly, that even if this expansion is closer to something like Heart of Thorns, I would be really surprised if the entire base price was like $50 to $60, just with like the general trend of accessibility that they've been doing for cost, like price points with the game. It could happen, but
True.
I see it probably like the absolute bare bones being like 40, and then maybe a collector's edition, which would be great. But
Yeah.
I actually think 40 is a really smart range because I remember when Path of Fire launched, the first reaction to it was like, at least from my group and my friends and stuff, we were like, this is so good. It's only $30. That's insane. They're like, I would have paid $60 for it. And if ArenaNet is pretty confident and they happen to have multiple features, like more features than they did in Path of Fire, I think 40 would be a good range. Because we also don't have to pay for Living World seasons or, sagas now. There's a motorcycle.
I was like, hey. After my talking, I like to end with a comfortable noise.
Yeah, but I also think they could monetize sagas if they really wanted to. But it's
they
the
would
trend
have to
of
deliver
it
more.
being
I
free.
think. Yeah, they'd have to deliver more
Yeah.
if they're gonna do that.
Oh my God.
it was just a little fart. Everybody farts. It's fine.
I believe they
Sorry.
do.
I get gassy when I'm nervous.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
30 to 40 bucks is probably good. They'll probably do the same gem deal that they've done before, cheaper gems. But that's the only time they really do it. Pretty much like they did with Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire. Pay a certain amount of money, and you can get some cheaper gems. Glider skins, probably a mount skin, I would say. Probably an outfit which is going to be an outfit which is very basic. And not ridiculous, not fashion, like really glowy or anything. The one that came with Path of Fire was just like maybe sad in the face. I don't think I've ever seen that in the game. Everyone wearing that other than day one. That's
It was,
just a
it was
personal.
weird.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I'm glad someone else thinks that. But that
I
was
don't wear it. Yeah.
no, it's there. It's definitely an outfit I have. Other than that, I don't think much. Other than if they introduce something really like brand new, like they give a skin for that, like they did with Heart of Thorns. They gave you a Heart of Thorns themed skin for the glider.
I can see that stuff for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not going to be anything. I don't think it's going to be anything out there. But maybe no. Maybe there'll be a collector's edition. You gotta hope. I mean, something would be cool, even if it was just art. You know what I mean? Like, even if it was just
Oh,
artwork.
they did that. That was wasn't that a part
It's
of the
in there, I
collector's
think.
edition?
I haven't
Yeah.
really opened it.
Felicia Day. I watched Felicia Day open one, and there was a bunch of art pieces in it.
Yeah, that would be awesome too. I love the pieces. I love the loading screens, the concept art is beautiful. Yeah, I'd be so down for just getting some printed art or things with that too. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just have to see, especially right now with the world being kind of the way it is.
That's the
And
problem,
depending on when it actually comes out, whether or not it's more digital and there's any kind of physical goods, I think will sort of be determined by that. I mean, there have even been companies recently that have been doing figurines and things where quality check is really hard to do. Even just getting the numbers met is really hard to do because,
Yeah.
depending on where you're getting them from, it's just tough to ensure that all happens and, to have the workforce that can produce what needs to be made. So if it is all digital, again, I'm not going to be super upset, but it would be great to see something like a physical edition that people could get and be hyped about. Again, for that marketing even that we were talking about where people could promote about it and talk about it. Like, that'd be really cool.
It would be.
Ended
I
on
just don't
somewhat
know
of a
what's gonna
somber note.
happen. I'm just like, I'm not sure. I just
think
don't
that
know.
would be really cool.
Oh,
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
good.
They've never done it.
Yeah.
They had more opportunity to do it with Heart of Thorns if they really wanted to go like ham with marketing and drawing people in.
They do. They
But-
do have models as well. They have the Shatterer, which I've got, which is in the UK. Sadness. I got paid for a I got paid for my shoutcast in PAX East when there was the World Tournament Series with a Shatterer statue.
That's cool.
That was my payment. I got
Was
a
it
Shatterer
worth it?
statue. Yeah, of course it was worth it. I got free flight to go to the East Coast of America. I mean, obviously later I was paid for my time,
that's
but like
cool.
it was like, here is the Shatterer we're gonna send you. Like Colin Yahazu was like, I know you guys couldn't get to come out and do the stuff. Is there anything you want and that would like to have, like model wise or anything from the game and that we have? And I was like, can I have a Shatterer, please? It was like,
You're like, can I just
he
get a
turned to
really
Kate-
expensive and
well,
like
he turned to
top
Katie,
secret
who's
thing?
like the head of events and some other. I'm not sure what title is now. She's awesome. And she was like, "Hell yeah, of course you can." She sent one to me. She sent one to Colaris as well. We both have Shatterers, and then,
Wow.
like, it was pretty cool. That's a pretty cool little story. That was
I
payment.
did. Oh, I was going to
Amazing.
mention, I did see in chat a couple things I wanted to bring up for our things we're excited about with future Expac possibilities sort of things. Mentions about like Canthan or like Eastern inspired outfits, gear, stuff like that. Obviously would be fantastic. Would like to see more of that too. And then also something that I think there is a precedent for that we can probably look forward to is some kind of expansion of CC and character creation, whether or not there is like an actual race. Because even with Path of Fire, they put in more like textured hairstyles and all sorts of different things that were really fantastic additions, and I think gave a lot of diversity in the CC that a lot of other games struggle with. So I think it'd be really great to see some more come in with Cantha and that kind of setting. And I hope that they do give a good variety of options, because while there's a lot of like Chinese, Japanese inspiration, I mean, I think they could really kind of play around with a lot of different Asian influences and cultures and groups and kind of bring that in to kind of change things up a little bit and, make it a little unique, I guess you could say, and represent some great cultures that are kind of encompassed by that. So,
and different identities that are just around in the
agree.
world now, to be honest. Just having like a more neutral rather than the male female character model. I think all of that stuff is important nowadays to bring in. Just having like a neutral, whatever you want person, like
man.
all the
If they had some kind
hairstyles,
of
all of that.
If they had some kind of non-binary option they introduced, that would be a feature I'd be really excited about, to be honest. But
I'm waiting for the first game to do it, really. I mean, there are games out there that don't have any. They just have a character creation and there's no male female thing. Like but like, the bodies and everything else. Like, it would be interesting how they would do that with armor, because obviously like Guild Wars 2, you have a male armor and then you have the female armor, and it's like, it's very much that, like, so that would be very interesting, and maybe you could select which version you want depending on how you identify, how you want your character to identify, because that might not necessarily even be how you want to identify. You might want to identify your character in that way, because you get to do that.
Role play.
So yeah, I'm waiting for that to happen. It will happen. It's just gonna take a little bit longer, I think. But yeah, I don't know.
Think there's so
options.
much. There's so many things that we want. Character customization is a great one. But like, even like reflecting, there is so much that they can do with Guild Wars 2. And they really need to knock it out of the park with this one, I think. More so than the last one.
Yeah.
I agree, and I think it's such a good moment for them too, like we were talking about earlier. It's one of those things where I have faith and I know the people in the company are passionate, right? And there's so much that can be done, and all the things that have to come into place for, not only the development but the financial side, all these different components of games. So much has to come together to have a really successful, really great launch and experience for people, but I think this is a great time. I think the game is entering a new phase, and I've got like fingers crossed that they really are going to try and knock it out of the park, because I think that there's a lot that they can still do with this And I'm really hoping that they, you know, have the support that they need to make all of that a reality and all the things that we hope for a reality. Even if it's not every single ridiculous thing we thought of, it will just be nice to see what they actually bring to the table and hopefully surprise us with.
But in addition to that, I do think it would be great if they contacted other more popular people who have much more viewership, because I know Summit was playing Guild Wars 2 not too long ago. If they had perhaps contacted him and said, here, you can showcase the new expansion, here's like a demo area, that'd be great. But on the from that side, from ArenaNet, but I think, you know, we are content creators. We do have small niches and we do have creativity and like passion. Not only do they have to do a good job, but we have to do a great job as well. And even speaking to like the larger content creation, like we really have to like hone our craft and, you know, make good pieces of maybe marketable to market ourselves in our own future careers and in our creativity, but also market like the games that we love. And even people in chat, you can do this just by like word of mouth and not being afraid to share the things that you enjoy in life, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's a seesaw balance of the company doing well while also the content creation doing well as well.
Absolutely. And you brought up such a good point, because it is so funny to me how when it comes to talks of like things that are coming up, right? So many times people can get really mired down in like frustrations or, you know, other valid things. Like there's reasons why people can get frustrated about any game. I've seen it in every single game, no matter how successful it is. You know what I mean? And so it is important, I think, that we all remember, like you were saying, that we're all advocates on whatever level that we are on, and that critique and that kind of stuff absolutely plays a role. And obviously we've even done a lot of discussion ourselves on a bunch of these different podcasts, but when it comes down to it, like a huge thing that kind of pushes us forward and even enables these features and stuff that we want to see be added to games comes from the actual communities themselves, from content creators down to viewers, to any person that's just talking about this game or sharing about what they're excited about, or talking about these things in a way that encourages rather than discourages other people to want to get involved and see what there is and what they themselves love about it. And like, of course, it doesn't negate anything that you might be feeling about, you know, where you'd like to see improvements, but it's so important to remember that, especially like with stuff like this, at these thresholds that are really big, that positive word of mouth and like talking about what you think is unique or good about a game, especially a game that, you know, kind of teeters on this threshold that Guild Wars 2 does, of being right up there with some of the major, huge titles, but also being, I mean, essentially a smaller scale game. It's a unique position, and it's really cool that they're there, but we ourselves build a lot of the discussion and hype and get people interested in it where they might not have even heard about it before, you know?
So true. So true. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to end the podcast, I think, because you two have both pretty much given me what I needed and wanted at the end, actually, to be honest. I think, you know, I feel exactly the same. Hopefully we will see something done where we will be given the opportunity to theorycraft and give the community enjoyment and content and hype and energy towards the next expansion, because I would like to do that, like I used to, and still can do, but you can only theorycraft so much. Okay.
Oh, I know.
Exactly. Right, Kroof, where are you? We're going to say goodbye, but first of all, we're going to do some outros. Kroof, where can we find you? What do you do? Where do you do it?
You can find me primarily on YouTube. I have a video, a really fun meme PvP video coming out live on 2 days, so keep an eye out for that. Mostly do YouTube, a couple videos every week. I'm streaming more consistently every Saturday and Monday. I hope to eventually add more days, but that's what I'm starting out with right now. So you can find me on Kroof at YouTube, Kroof Gaming on Twitch, and I have a Twitter as well. So thank you.
Awesome. And then we have the awesome Bird of Chess, aka Rook.
Hello again. Hey everyone. No, you can find me at twitch.tv Bird of Chess. I'm pretty much Bird of Chess everywhere. I'm almost reverse of Kroof here because I stream more days and now do one YouTube video a week, which I'm working on expanding. So you can usually find me live on Twitch and on various other podcasts. I also do Eighth Right Radio podcast every Saturday with Gamer Escape, which is a Final Fantasy 14 podcast. But you can usually find me live playing Final Fantasy 14 and Guild Wars 2 throughout the week with one new YouTube video popping up each week, aiming to have it on Tuesdays, but sometimes it's on other days. So, one day. But it's been really great doing that. And you can also find me on social media and all sorts of other places at Bird of Chess.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us again.
Wait.
Oh.
Jebro, where can we find you?
Thank you. I was about to do
Jebro,
it.
tell us.
I didn't know. I forgot.
No, it's okay.
But I
It's
feel
okay.
like someone else has to.
Thank you. Normally someone in the chat will do it as well. Oh, I'm all embarrassed. In a very English accent. No. I'm Jebra Uni. I produce this podcast every 2 weeks. We have awesome guests like the guests we've had on today. Please make sure you take time to check them out on Twitter and YouTube and Twitch and all the things. And join them in their communities, whatever they're doing, because they're awesome. As well as Boots, who is here. You go and check out his youtube.com/World of Enders. Because I forgot to shout him out. But that is, if you search Boots Guild Wars 2 on Google, you'll be able to find loads of stuff. Sounds weird, but Twitch.tv/JebroUni, as well as YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Jebro Unity. Unity is the guild, as well as just how I feel about, games in general, being together, doing all things. I am a I was gonna say a hentai advocate.
I could read some or hentai. It was one or the other.
I mean, both would fit if you're offering, but what? Did I just have an aneurysm?
I was gonna say hentai advocate.
You're a hentai advocate?
I mean, my Discord, you will fit right in, Jebro.
Oh no, I don't want to.
Fit right in.
I don't know why I came
We
out.
advocate for all of the sexual positivity in this stream. Live your truth, live your life. Be positive about it.
We
No
break
shade.
you.
Okay.
We do.
Bro.
Harm none.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy,
Oh Jesus.
We are
Oh,
so
God.
happy that you feel comfortable sharing this with us.
I feel like
Thank
it's
you.
been a really special episode
Thank
of
you
the
so much.
podcast.
Oh my god.
All right, mental health advocate, I was going to say, as well as training to be a mental health counselor. And we have many conversations about all the things that are going on in our lives. And I don't give advice, but we talk about these things in an ethical and respectful way. So if you ever want to come here and check that out, Twitch pretty much every day. Well, most days. And reduce my hours, so I'm looking after myself more. Has been a challenge in the recent last 2 weeks, so I'm doing that, and it might increase a little bit more as we find a schedule, which is good for us. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and oh god,
Hell of an outro.
episode 10. Episode 10 was great. There is going to be another episode in 2 weeks. These are going to be very regular now, hopefully every 2 weeks. So the next 2 weeks, if you have any suggestions of what you might want us to talk about, then yeah, please drop that in. I've lost it completely. All right.
I saw Tentai in the chat and I think it killed Kroof.
Oh wow.
If you have enjoyed what you've been watching today or listening to, make sure you chuck a follow on the Twitch. Make sure you chuck a support maybe Anchor and follow that, and just see you later. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye, everyone. And we'll see you next
Bye,
time
everyone.
on the LightBringers, the Guild Wars 2 podcast, brought to you by Jebro Unity, Bird of Chess, and Kroof today, as well as Boots, who likes stuff in space. Good. Bye.